Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's study hall. Can everybody hear me okay? I am Agent Boomer, your host. This is my co-host Papa Pacelli.
Co-hoist. I'm good with
Hoist,
that.
yeah, well, that's what, anyway. Okay.
What are you sipping on?
I got a Coke. I'm going to open it up on the air. Listen for
Maybe
it.
you better Irish that up a little bit.
Yeah, tell me about it.
There
Maybe
you
next
go.
week. Next week, the news will
Yep.
be worse. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Who knows? As my
Coke.
icon lets you know, I'm drinking a buttered rum, which I just needed to lubricate a little bit because I know this is going to be a heck of a stream, guys. Get ready for it.
Sure, it's not a butter beer to tie into our first story.
I didn't even think about that.
Okay,
No.
but anyway, let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Let's see, who do we have here? We have Nanette. Hi, Nanette.
Netters Network. So glad you're here.
I need the hi hun with a heart because
we need it today.
This has been a rough week. Okay.
No kidding.
Auditor Dread, welcome. Melissa Harris, always welcome. Casey Scott, how you doing? Hey, I hope there's some good news here. I could really use it.
Are you on live chat or are you on top chat? Because you skipped over Auditor Dread.
Of course, I did live chat now because I'm the boomer.
I am actually not drinking Kraken. I am drinking a buttered rum, but either way, it's going to be an interesting stream.
Here we are, Auditor Dread. Okay, back to the drawing board. Brian Gilmartin. And that's.
I'm sorry, did I completely throw you off? Casey Scott, back to the drawing board.
No, you're fine. I'm looking for people. Jedi Master Zootopia. People are spilling in now. That's good. Joshua V. All right, welcome. I've missed anybody. Sorry, but we'll catch you later, and I'll be.
I was going to say, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, but you guys are doing a great job. I'm seeing more thumbs up than are watching. So that's
yeah, thank you for hitting the thumbs up.
Kind of like voting. You know, there's more thumbs up than are actually watching.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, that never happens, right? Yeah, Casey Scott points out that I'm echoing, so that means something's coming through on your side.
Crap.
Double.
Sorry about that.
I actually heard it on the StreamYard, and I didn't say anything. I should have before we went live. What good is it to have a pre-show if we don't do a sound check?
Let me try lowering the volume a little bit. Because maybe that's it. Maybe the volume's coming through the headphones into the mic. Can you hear the echoing now?
I don't know until I say something. And no, I'm not.
Okay. So that's probably what it is. Okay. I'll raise it up one. You hearing it now?
I don't know. Let me check. No, I'm not hearing anything. And Nanette's giving me a thumbs up.
Good. So I probably had the volume raised too loud. It was probably feeding from that's my techie guess. Okay.
Leia plus size. Thank you so much for being here. You are awesome. Wolf 10 Media. Ooh.
Yeah. Welcome, Wolf 10. All right. So we have.
I think we're all caught up, and we'll try to keep an eye on everyone as they filter in. But we have a big docket ahead of us, so I think we should jump right into it.
Yeah, I thought this would be a slow news week for all the entertainment news. This is not a slow news week. A lot of stuff going on. So first up, Johnny Depp, the latest in our Hollywood Apocalypse update.
Can I just start by saying that this whole double standard on Me Too is a bunch of BS. Let me tell the stream, guys, if there's anyone out there that considers themselves a true feminist, you know, who agrees that there should be equality between the sexes, I'm with you 100%. But if you hate men, if you have men in your life and you don't care about them, you have brothers or fathers or sons, you know, kind of think about them a little bit, because we're entering a world where if you think that there's been injustice in the past, it behooves nobody to get even. You know, we need justice, we need equality, but we don't need to cancel all men because, you know, there's been injustice in the past. And that's all I want to say about it. But yeah, let's go back into the story.
I was just going to say that we need to be against spousal abuse no matter which spouse is doing it too.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Okay. But for crying out loud, let's be fair about it. You know, let's not, you know, assume that the man is the guilty party just because he's the man and the woman is always right and always perfect.
All right, Melissa Harris. Johnny Deposit is my favorite actor. Okay.
That could be a spell check.
It could be, you know what it is? It happens to me all the time when I'm trying to type.
Because the only deposit that I know of was Amber Heard in the bed, but that's a whole different story.
That's a different story. I wasn't following this case. I figured this is tabloid
Netter
stuff.
and I were actually.
Yeah, okay. So you might know more about this than me.
And actually, Netter was every now and again she'd be like, "Hey, is there any more information on that Johnny Depp divorce thing?" And I'm like, "Oh, let me tell you." And then I'll play a video for her. And she'd be like, "That."
From what I heard,
I won't say what she said. I don't want anyone to know she uses language sometimes.
From what I had heard, it seemed like she was a bit of a hot mess with the stuff that was coming out about her.
Yeah, well, so here's what I know, okay, and this is just what I've read, and this is what's been reported. It's obviously a very toxic relationship.
Yes,
that's why they're getting a divorce. And Johnny Depp has admitted that he's been pushed to the point where eventually he has to defend himself. But by and large, she's been the one initiating physical abuse, you know, and within the scope of the divorce, that's one thing. But then last week, there was a case where he had gone up against, I forget which news outlet he was suing for. Was it the Sun or something like that? Something in the UK where he was suing him for libel.
It was the Sun.
Yeah, because they called him a wife beater. And he's like, "Look, you say stuff like that, it can hurt my career." And for whatever reason, the UK court threw it out. And sure enough, as soon as they did, Warner Brothers says, "Yeah, we'd like you to step down from Fantastic Beasts." And he's out of work now, specifically because of that ruling.
Yeah, this was from Deadline, and I think I do have some quotes from the article. Johnny Depp filed a libel case with the Sun.
Let me drop the attribution. I'm sorry.
Yeah, UK court ruled that the tabloid was justified in its use of the phrase wife beater in regard to an article they published about Amber Heard. Verdict does also not accept the allegation of Amber Heard as a gold digger. Okay, I don't know how they would know that one way or the other, but anyway, and Depp is also going to be suing Amber Heard for $50 million in Virginia over a Washington Post column she wrote concerning domestic violence. And as you said, Johnny Depp has been fired from the Fantastic Beasts franchise, which is in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Correction, effectively fired. He technically stepped down, but he stepped down because he was specifically asked to. Yes, that works out to him being fired, but you know, if we're going to be technical, we have to, be specific there.
No, right, definitely. So yeah,
it's
quote
absolutely
unquote
ridiculous
resigned.
Because now what that means is, and there's either at the very least he's lost this one job, but at the more extreme end, his career's over. This is flipping ridiculous. And remember, this is Warner Brothers, okay? The same ones that are doing Aquaman 2. No word that Amber Heard's being removed from Aquaman 2.
No. Also, no word that Ezra Miller is being removed from the Fantastic Beasts series.
Is he in Fantastic Beasts too?
Yes, he is. He plays one of the main villains in it.
I did not know that.
Yes, and he will be in part 3. And of course, he was caught on video.
Yes,
actually looked like he was actually assaulting a woman.
Yeah,
so I find that kind of interesting.
Now, I actually didn't follow that one because I have not heard anything came from that. I don't think there was any lawsuit. If there was, I think we would have heard about it.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I may be mistaken because honestly, I don't give a flying F about Ezra Miller and anything related to, that particular thing. But I don't know. You're absolutely right. This is absolutely unfair. Either get rid of everybody or get rid of nobody. It's wrong.
Yeah.
This whole idea that because you're the man, you get fired and the woman is getting away scot-free. It's ridiculous. It's unfair and it's wrong. And again, I say this as a man who loves women and thinks that women deserve equal treatment, but equal means equal. And if you have brothers and fathers and sons and you care about them, you want them treated fairly too.
Yeah. And I do wonder, though, going forward, how much of a career Amber Heard's really going to have. I know that she was getting attacked a lot on social media after this, after the verdict came through. Again, I don't know.
There had been talk about Warner Brothers had a contingency plan for this whole situation for both of them. They did already plan to minimize both of their roles. But I think there's a lot of other moving parts to this because as we talked about last week, Hollywood is starting to look at this whole situation of having to lower costs and, tighten the belt and whatnot. And so big name stars are getting to be expendable and replacing them with cheaper alternatives is getting to be the option. In fact, in that regard, Hollywood is starting to look like corporate America, to be honest with you. Get rid of the high paid people and replace them with more low paid workers. But as I'd been saying for the longest time, you don't always need big name stars. You just need talented actors. Give the new guy a chance once in a while.
Well, I also wanted to say, though, that it does feel like these days, I've said this even going back to when I used to just come on the Professor Geek's office hours, I think that Hollywood is having a very hard time cultivating stars. Like, even when they get actors with that kind of potential, I don't see them really utilizing it. Like, for instance, Chris Hemsworth, I think he could be a potential star like we had in the old days, but it feels like he's been kept down. Anthony Mackie, the guy that plays Falcon, I think he could be a major star too, like a leading man.
Absolutely. I love him.
Yes.
He's awesome. But, and that's something else, going back to the old days of Hollywood, the public persona is important. There used to be whole branches of the Hollywood machine that would protect their public image, right? If they did something stupid, they'd cover it up. They'd give them advice about, hey, downplay this. If this is what you're going to do in your private life, don't let anyone know about it, blah, 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 blah. Now it's, you have an open mic, you can say whatever you want and you can condemn whomever you want. And, you suffer no consequences about it, even though it's directly hurting the bottom line for their films. The most obvious example of that is the Brie Larson. I don't need to know what a white man thinks about Stitch in Time. It wasn't made for him. And that absolutely has hurt the whole Captain Marvel thing. And actually, that's probably a bad example because Disney clearly has kind of taken that to heart. Where is Captain Marvel 2? Honestly.
Yeah, they didn't do there were all these talks. Like, I remember when they announced the next slate, I kept saying, well, where's Black Panther 2? And I also noticed Captain Marvel 2. Now we found out why there was no Black Panther 2 being made, but that was sad. But
we're not going to get into this tonight, but did you see that they are thinking about recasting because of his death?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just a new actor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
we'll talk about that more. Actually, it's probably worth waiting on until we get more information about it.
Right.
So far, just been somebody's in talks. That's it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I don't know. This whole thing is a crapshoot. And Warner Brothers, they can't afford to F around with this stuff. Their whole Snyderverse has been hurting too badly for too long for them to decide this is the hill they want to die on.
Yeah. And seriously though, but Johnny Depp, I was making a point about stars though, that he is a major box office draw, and now they've just thrown that box office draw away.
You have an excellent point there.
Yeah.
And I'll go even further. He himself has a lot of fans who will go, you know what? We're not going to see that movie. I'd say about 50% of your population is male, and they're going to look at that and go, yeah, we're not going to go see it either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the whole Brie Larson effect. You know, well, obviously I'm not the target audience. I'm done. I'm out. You know?
And this movie's been postponed till summer of 2022. I'm assuming they're going to have to reshoot the scenes he was in.
Yeah, but let's face it. At this point, this coming on the hump of CV and everything, you know, they were going to be postponing it anyway. They can just use this as another excuse for it. But again, this comes under the whole, you know, Hollywood apocalypse again, where this is not something that they can really afford. This is lost revenue. Every month that you have to push off a release date is money lost. All of these franchises that are sequels, people begin to lose interest in that. They've moved on to other things.
And I am going to say this, J.K. Rowling was always very supportive of Johnny Depp, and I'm wondering if she's going to be interested in doing anything further with Harry Potter and Warner Brothers going forward.
Well, I'll be honest with you about J.K. Rowling. Mm-hmm. She'll always be interested as long as there's money to be made.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Yeah. But she did. I mean, I've disagreed with her on a lot of issues, but I will admit she did stay loyal to Johnny Depp and everybody else threw him under the bus.
I've agreed with her on some things. I've disagreed with her on some other things. But ultimately, I just see her as somebody who's created something and gone, nah, you know, I'll license it and make the money that I can on it. And yeah, you want to make another movie? Okay, fine. I'll write another book, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there was talk of them doing it now with the Harry Potter as an adult. Now they were going to get the actors back, but we'll see how that all works out going forward. But I have a note here, though. I still believe that the star system was and is very important.
Yes.
For instance, hey, you know, not to pick on Brie again, but she's not a star. Okay.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr., in my opinion, he really did, especially in the beginning. He carried the MCU.
Yep.
And
he's another one that, unless you burst my bubble, I don't think he's come out and said anything particularly inflammatory that, you know, seriously would cause anyone to lose respect for him. And I think that's important for somebody's public image. You're a public figure. You have fans. You don't want to alienate half of them.
Yeah, I agree. And I did have a question, though, for the chat or anybody else, maybe you. Does anyone care about Fantastic Beasts at this point going forward? I mean, maybe you covered that, but I mean,
look, I'm the wrong person to ask that. Yeah, I'd love to hear what the stream thinks about that. But
I've seen them.
I did see the first one. Was there a second one that I haven't seen yet?
Second one, which nobody seemed to like.
There
Harry
was
Potter
a second
fans. Yes.
Okay.
The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Do we have that one? Crimes of Grindelwald? Let me see.
Wald.
We'd probably have it under Harry
I'm
Potter
sounding like a boomer now because I'm getting the name wrong.
I don't know. I got to be honest with you. We've got all the Harry Potter films, and I've fallen asleep in the middle of each one of them. And I don't normally fall asleep in the middle of movies.
I preferred the books. I did read the books years ago.
Yeah, I got to admit, usually I'm the type that reads the books, and I didn't on these. And with Harry Potter, you know, when we got to the later films, you know, and that what's her name, Hermione, kind of grew up, I started to go, hey, hello, but now I want nothing to do with her. It's like, you know, and there's another perfect example. You know, it's like you had to shoot off your mouth and you lost half your fan base. Screw you.
Yeah, she was in that Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my gosh, that horrible singing. That badly auto-tuned. What the F? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Brian Gilmartin says I fell asleep during Weatherman, the Nicolas Cage film. I didn't even know there was a Nicolas Cage film called Weatherman. But yep, I know what you're talking about. Not all movies are good. What is that one? Just this one? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's the only one that we have. Yeah, we haven't seen.
You don't have the second one. Okay.
And you know what? I don't think we're going to go out of our way now.
Yeah, well, there's no point. They made a big deal about the Johnny Depp casting in the first one because he shows up at the very end. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and then they don't end up using him.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
All right, but
So there you
apparently
go.
Wolf 10 Media, Leia Plus Size, not big fans of the Auditor Dread, not big fans of the Fantastic Beast movie. So I don't know. I guess people still go to see them, but it does seem like Warner Brothers needs to get their act together a little bit,
Mhm.
because I am not really enthusiastic about too much they're bringing out. Possibly Doom. I, I say Doom, I meant Dune, but anyway.
Oh yeah, Dune. Yeah, that's a very different thing. I was gonna say Doom. You mean is that a video game?
Yeah, it was a video game. They did do a movie based on it, starring Dwayne the Rock Johnson. So, which I
I
heard was
heard
not
that, but I
good.
haven't.
But
Oh god, that's too bad.
back before he was a bigger star as he is now.
Yeah.
But okay, so I guess we should move on unless you have anything else to add.
No, I think this is the one that a lot of people have been waiting on. We should probably hit it.
Okay, and this is the Star Wars news.
Star Wars. The Mandalorian is retconning Star Wars.
How do you feel about them retconning Star Wars, chat?
Yeah. What are you guys thinking? I'll tell you what I think. I'm pretty fired up about it, to be honest with you. I am not a big one on retcons, but this one effing needs to be retcon, my friends. So we are not talking about retconning the original series. Yes, it was a little clickbaity, what I've been saying up till this point. Just wanted to get you all riled up. They are retconning the sequel trilogy. I said it. I predicted it many months ago. Maybe it was a couple years ago. I predicted that that's how they were going to do it when they saw that this was just blowing up in their face and the Mandalorian was doing well. And after seeing the Mandalorian, I said, wow, they are really honoring the original Star Wars. And it takes place just 5 years after Return of the Jedi. I said, you watch. They're going to use it to retcon. They're just going to continue forward. They're going to stay in this time frame for a while and do prequels and stuff in this time frame leading up to where The Force Awakens happens, and then they're just going to overwrite it. And sure enough, we've seen the first evidence of that this season in The Mandalorian.
So Auditor Dread is asking, how are they going to do this?
Okay, so let me tell you the evidence that we have so far. Okay, so in the first episode of this season of The Mandalorian, they were talking about the destruction of the second Death Star. Remember, this takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, and this information is filtering out. The Death Star has been destroyed. The Empire, is in chaos. The New Republic is taking over, right? And we've had all kinds of Easter eggs referring back to the original trilogy, the prequels, and so forth. A lot of callbacks to Clone Wars and Rebels, and I will get to that in a moment. More than their fair share of that. It's getting ridiculous. But when they talked about the destruction of the second Death Star, they showed it being destroyed. And there's no like throne room being thrown clear. It was completely destroyed. And in a tweet, a fan asked, I don't remember who it was, hey, what's this about? There was no, and they said, well, we were doing this to match Return of the Jedi. And they said, but this creates a discrepancy with whatever that last movie was, Skywalker, The Rise of Skywalker. And there has been no response about it. The inference being, yep, it's a discrepancy with the sequel trilogy. We were honoring the original trilogy. So in other words, going forward, it is their intent to follow the original trilogy and that continuity, and they don't really care so much about the sequel trilogy. So I do want to, at this point, I want to address something that somebody brought up in the Professor Geek group. Somebody said, hey, what about Ahsoka Tano? Actually, it was Sound Engraver who brought it up. She said, in the last movie, Rey hears all the voices of all the previous Jedi, and one of the voices she heard was Ahsoka Tano. Does that mean Ahsoka Tano is dead at the time of the The Rise of Skywalker. And I would say, yes, it absolutely does mean that. However, I'm going to say that doesn't really matter so much because that whole future, I think, is being overwritten by The Mandalorian. You know, in fact, I'm going to drop another article here. This one is from Deadline. They have Lucasfilm has specifically stated that Leslie Headland series is set in an alternate timeline. So I suspect that this whole Leslie Headland thing, there's contractual obligations and they have to go forward with, giving her series, but they're going to say they're going to relegate it to an alternate timeline. Now, they haven't explained exactly how that's happening, but they are absolutely confirming there are alternate timelines for the Star Wars universe. And I think we're going to find out, as I predicted many months ago, that The Mandalorian is going to overwrite the sequel trilogy. And somewhere down the line, they may decide to do an alternate sequel trilogy. Or not. Either way, they're going to overwrite it. That's all that's important to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was they had made a mention about the Death Star wreckage, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So again, let me if I wasn't clear, because my head isn't entirely clear. If you remember your sequel trilogy lore, and most of us try to forget it, it's important to remember that the Emperor's throne room actually survived the destruction of the Death Star, and it crash landed on whatever the F planet it was, and they had to, find the MacGuffin that leads them to the MacGuffin that they could hold up and find the throne room that contained another MacGuffin to find some other piece of junk, that led them to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And every fan in the world was like, how is this, still around? That Death Star was destroyed. We saw it destroyed. It was blown to atoms, Well, it's just whatever. It's the Force. It's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they showed it to us again in The Mandalorian. They showed footage of the Death Star being destroyed, and it was pretty much it wasn't obviously the same footage, but it was clearly referencing what we saw in Return of the Jedi, where it just blew up, ba-boom, and there was nothing left of it. There was no flaming piece that went flying towards the planet or anything like that. They made their statement about it on Twitter. They were pretty clear. We were tracking and following the continuity of Return of the Jedi. Draw from that what you will. I tend to take that as we're fans. We're writing it the way we want to. And again, speaking to the whole Ahsoka Tano thing, you know how Dave Filoni feels about Ahsoka Tano, right? He had nothing to say about The Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker, J.J. Abrams, under Queen Kennedy, is erasing the past, right? And that includes whatever Lucas created and whatever Dave Filoni created. That Dave Filoni didn't want that to happen. He didn't want his, Mary Sue to be, killed off. So her future, I think, is still unwritten as far as Dave Filoni is concerned. Now, I know that the professor is going to be bothered by that, but I'd say that's a decent price to pay to retcon the entire sequel trilogy.
Now, Auditor Dredd had a question for you, though. Do you think they'll retcon the sequel trilogy as an alternate timeline?
Yeah, I absolutely do. They're still talking about, there's still grumblings and rumors going around about that whole Veil of the Force thing. I am not prepared to take that strong a stand that specifically about that. That is one option they have open to them, this idea of time travel. You know how I feel about time travel fixing things. You end up messing up more than you fix. But The idea that there are alternate timelines out there, I can deal with. Especially if they don't get into the specifics of explaining how and why.
Now, I had my own thoughts on this whole situation. Want me to let him rip?
Go for it. It's your show. I've monopolized you long enough.
Oh no, I'm just going to say that my theory is as to why the Mandalorian is contradicting Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is that the makers of the Mandalorian did not actually watch The Rise of Skywalker. They figured this was 2 hours and 22 minutes of their life they wouldn't get back, and it won't make a difference what the Mandalorian takes place. That's me being extra cynical tonight.
No, you might be putting too fine a point on it. I'm not entirely certain that it's that true. I mean, they probably did see it. I would go so far as to say they saw it and don't care. I think Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are see themselves as the heirs apparent, and they're like, okay, they think they can overwrite us. Screw them. We're going to overwrite them because we're taking over now.
Oh, I see. So they were working on The Mandalorian when Rise of Skywalker was being worked on, and they had their own ideas for stuff that was supposed to happen after the events of Jedi.
Yep.
And then they were doing 1,000 reshoots on Rise of Skywalker because they couldn't get anything right, and they were throwing anything at the wall that would stick. Okay. And it interfered with what they were trying for The Mandalorian.
And then the sales figures come in, and just look at the marketing. Okay, the marketing does not lie. Nobody is buying toys from the sequel trilogy, and they're pumping out The Mandalorian left and right. There's 25 freaking different styles of action figures for the damn child, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous.
So obviously there's still an audience for Star Wars if they're out buying all this, all this stuff. Yeah.
But it's all classic stuff. It's not just Mandalorian. I mean, people are buying prequel stuff. People are buying Clone Wars stuff. People are buying original trilogy stuff. They're not buying sequel stuff. What does that tell you? And that leads us into our next piece of business about Star Wars. There's going to be a lot of, spin-offs being proposed from The Mandalorian.
Some big ones.
First of which being a mini-series about Boba Fett. So we know that Tamara, what's his name? That played all the clones in the prequels.
Oh, I should know his name. Yes, he did the voice of Boba Fett in the
special edition.
In the special editions, yeah, his voice changed. I mean,
yeah, right.
But yeah,
but let me look it up real fast. Boba Fett actor. Let's see. It's Tamara. What's his name?
I'll look it up.
Come on.
But
Tamara Morrison. That's it. So he's back this season in The Mandalorian, and he's playing Boba Fett. We haven't gotten to the episode where we did see him. We saw him at the end of the first episode. He doesn't have his armor. His armor was found by some Jawas, and there's a whole story what happens to it. The Mandalorian is now currently in possession of Boba Fett's armor. Boba Fett looks like for all the world, he's trying to get his armor back. He has escaped the Sarlacc. And if you see this season of The Mandalorian, you find out by inference how he presumably escaped the Sarlacc. And it sounds like he's going to be getting his own spinoff. There you go. Mr. H had his say about it. He thinks it's ridiculous. Why have another Mandalorian story? Someone that looks just like the Mandalorian. I want to slap him upside the head. He's a dumb kid. He doesn't know any better. The old time fans love Boba Fett. There is a whole legend that has come up around him. And this Mandalorian series was originally meant to be a Boba Fett series. And that didn't work out. And Kathleen Kennedy quashed that because kill the past and all of that. And the fans are going, no, we still want Boba Fett. You know, in the toy collecting community, there's a concept called the Boba Fett tax. And that means all the action figures out there have their value, but if it's Boba Fett, it's going to be more because he's Boba Fett.
How much is Boba Fett worth?
Depends on the figure. Some of them, yeah, you know, old figures will go for at least retail price, but you know, some of those old prototypes, those are the most expensive things
like
out there.
We're talking one where
thousands and thousands of dollars with the firing backpack and so
I remember that they had to take that off the market, right? Yeah.
Yep. I remember mailing away for it and getting the free Boba Fett figure that came without the firing backpack with the little explanation, we're sorry, you know, blame Battlestar Galactica for that. That's a whole other show.
Okay. That'd be a neat story to tell sometime, though. Maybe during the holiday special. But
yeah, maybe I will.
But I like Jedi Master Zootopia. He says time traveling has no place in Star Wars. I would rather Disney keep the sequels and have to wear them as a badge of shame. Well, you are wrong, Jedi Master Zootopia, because they are actually bringing time travel to Star Wars in a big way in the next special, the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah, I actually don't have a link ready for you.
Don't worry about it.
But you know what? The official, you can Google it up. There is an official Lego Star Wars Holiday Special coming up this season, and it involves what's her name, Mary Sue Ray, traveling back in time by whatever means she does, and visiting all the different eras of Star Wars. And I'm gonna say this just smacks of appeasing the current powers that be by using Rey and the current sequel trilogy, but having her go back to the past that they want to kill off so badly because they know that's all anybody really cares about.
It's funny. I did kind of roll my eyes at the trailer for that, but it did remind me of something that Luke Skywalker really is the heart of Star Wars. Okay. In my opinion. Okay. And they are showing him, it seems like, more respect than the sequel trilogy did in that special. I have to admit that.
Yeah. Nothing but an insult to fans. Absolutely, Leia plus size. Could you put up Auditor Dredd's comment real quick?
Yeah, is that the Boba Fett's one?
Yeah. And if you'll indulge me for a moment, I know we have a lot to cover, but I would like to hit this because he is bringing it up. Why is Boba Fett so popular? Okay. There is, and this is tied directly to the merchandising. You cannot separate the success of Star Wars from its merchandising. Disney needs to understand that. And I think they do, because this was the biggest failure of their sequel trilogy. The toys have not sold. So it doesn't matter how popular the films were and what their profit margin was. They made zero on the licensing, and that has hurt them. Boba Fett is a perfect example of a character who had almost no screen time, but
Hello?
you hearing me?
No, yeah, you roboted out there for a minute. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. So it's kind of the Jaws effect, where you don't see the shark, so your mind fills in the blanks. You don't know a lot about Boba Fett, so your mind fills in the blanks, and you just can't live up to that legend, right? And a big part of Boba Fett was how he was introduced in the holiday special. The toy, the mail away from the Star Wars figures, the upcoming Empire Strikes Back, he'll be revealed in Empire, get the figure before the movie comes out, etc., etc. All we knew when we got the figure was what was written in that little card that said he was a bounty hunter going after Han Solo. Oh my gosh, what's his history? What's his background? We don't know, and it just kind of built from there. And a lot of fans were really upset in Return of the Jedi when he dies, he gets punked into the Sarlacc. So everybody has assumed that somehow he survived. And there's been fan art, and there's been comic books, and there's been all these different stories about him getting out of the Sarlacc. Well, it's canon now, guys. The episode hasn't been released, but we know this season he got out of the Sarlacc. It's absolutely true. It's canonized. So Here's to the Star Wars version of the Man with No Name.
That's an interesting point you made up. So people are already building lore around Boba Fett before we even saw him in Empire. It sounds like from what you're saying.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And again, I'll talk more about that during the holiday special rewatch.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear.
But again, yes, we do have a Lego holiday special coming. But guys, always remember, Lego is not continuity. You know? Although it will poke at continuity, they do a good job of kind of tongue-in-cheeking that stuff.
I mean, I had some issues with the Lego Batman movie, but there was one line that I seen that I loved when the Joker says, "I'm your arch enemy," and he's like, "No, Superman's my arch enemy," because of the whole Batman versus Superman thing and how that doesn't make any sense.
Right? Exactly.
So there was that, but yeah. But let's see. There's the other series that was mentioned, the Leslie Headland series.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. I don't think anyone really does. It may or may not be in some way tied to the that High Republic thing. But look, you got to read between the lines on these things. When you read a news article, you got to say what's going on behind the scenes on stuff like this. Leslie Headland, why is she even still there? Why is Kathleen Kennedy still there? Well, presumably there's some contractual obligations there. And so they have to let them do their thing. Okay, fine. So Leslie Headland, she's going to write her Star Wars story. We're going to make a series because we're contractually obligated to do so. But it doesn't really affect, the real continuity. The real continuity, guys, it's The Mandalorian. It's Filoni and Favreau.
So, yeah, you're not interested in this series that's supposed to be a female-driven thriller / martial arts spinoff set in an alternate timeline of the Star Wars universe.
Oh, yeah, let me get all on that.
That will be interesting to report on as we learn more, though. I maybe not. Anyway.
Okay, I just finished my hot buttered rum. And are we done on this topic? Let's go on to the next one.
We're done. What is the next? Hold on. I got my list here.
Very, very sad news. We all know about this.
Yes. Well, sad news, but it's one of these things we knew would happen eventually. In fact, he had been out of the limelight for a while. Yeah. Sean Connery, James Bond actor, dies at age 90. He was more than the Bond actor, though that was his signature
Let's face
role.
it, 90 years old. That's a good life, right?
Doing pretty good there, yeah. He was surrounded by family, and he had retired from acting a while ago.
Yeah,
and so go ahead.
Did you see? You can Google this up, like the last picture of Sean Connery. I'll be honest with you, yeah, and he was surrounded by family. Looked happy.
Yeah,
looked great. But gaunt and thin. So obviously there was some health issues there. You don't die at age 90 without health issues,
No.
Let's face it. But yeah, I'll say he did well for himself. Yeah, he did way more than James Bond, although that's where most people know him from. If you don't know him from James Bond, what you know him from is Indiana Jones. I'll drop an article where Harrison Ford was sharing his memories of his on-screen father.
I'd like to read from that too. Yeah, hold on, let me bring that up on here.
Go for it.
But son Jason Connery was with him. Jason Connery is actually on one of my favorite TV shows, Robin of Sherwood. He played the second Robin Hood on that show.
The second Robin Hood? Did they recast the role?
Well, yeah, but this is going to be a major spoiler for the series. They did something pretty clever. They ended up killing off the first Robin Hood.
And someone else picks up the mantle, so to speak?
Someone else picks up the mantle, and they did that final episode of the first Robin Hood is amazing. He really does die. I don't typically like the the hero's death thing, but it really was well done on that show.
Huh.
And it was interesting because they're two legends of Robin Hood. And well, I'm getting off on a tangent. We'll talk about that some other time.
That's interesting. I remember watching the first season of that, and I didn't continue on with it. So you've kind of piqued my interest. I'll have to look into that.
It's on Amazon Prime streaming. But Well, you probably don't have access to it at the
I
moment.
do.
Okay,
well,
yeah.
not right now. I'm in the middle of a stream with you.
Well,
But,
obviously,
but yes, I do have.
I believe
Amazon
it's on there,
Prime,
Robin
so
of
I can-
Sherwood, and I would check it out. And it's good '80s sword and sorcery. But
Awesome.
I'm getting off track though. I did bring up the article though. But Harrison Ford.
That thinks that's funny. I'm in the middle of a stream with you. I can't check that out.
Yes. Oh, and you can tell that, or the echo was coming from the sound being on my TV, probably.
Yeah.
And I will hopefully be able to fix that in post because I'm kicking my own butt right now. Anyway, okay.
You'll fix
Anyway,
it in post.
Anyway,
We'll fix this all in post, people.
Yeah,
when you catch us live, you catch all the bumps and the warts, but we'll fix it all in post.
Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, Harrison Ford paid tribute to Sean Connery, aka Henry Jones Sr. in the Indiana Jones series, who died on Saturday at the age of 90. And this is Harrison Ford. He was my father, not in life, but in Indy 3. Ford said in a statement to Variety, "You don't know pleasure until someone pays you to take Sean Connery for a ride in the side of a Russian motorcycle, bouncing along a bumpy, twisty mountain trail, and getting to watch him squirm. God, we had fun. If he's in heaven, I hope they have golf courses. Rest in peace, dear friend." That's a good eulogy. I like that. Okay, and
good.
I am happy some actors came out and said some good things. George Lucas wrote a statement. Sir Sean Connery, through his talent and drive, left an indelible mark in cinematic history. His audiences span generations, each with favorite roles he played. He will always hold a special place in my heart as Indy's dad.
Wow. See? Yeah.
And even Michael Bay said something, and he was
I'll
saying how
that one too.
Yeah, he basically took the producers of the Rock to task. I need to see the Rock. I don't know how I've missed out on that.
Oh, you haven't seen that one? Yeah,
that would be a good way for you to celebrate maybe the passing of Sean Connery. Maybe finally watch the Rock.
Nanette and I actually saw the Rock in a hotel room when we went to Metropolis, Illinois for the Superman celebration. It was just on, and we watched it, and it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, I mean, it looked fun. Okay. Mm-hmm. And Michael Bay wrote a tribute to Sir Sean Connery shortly after the actor's iconic passing. This is from IGN. And this was when they were having trouble with, I think, funding for The Rock. And, let me see. What did he say? Connery... Oh, yeah. Bay recalled a moment when he and Connery were filming a car chase. Mm-hmm. Connery hit the brakes and caused Bay to hit his head against a window. Connery asked if Bay was okay, and Bay said he wasn't, but only because the Disney folks are here to kick my butt for being 2 days over schedule. Connery then offered to help. Later, during a break in filming, Bay is eating lunch in an elementary school classroom with Disney representatives when Bay announces that Connery is coming in. Sean comes in, sits down across from the open-mouth executives, Bay wrote, in classic Sean Connery style. He belts out in his Scottish brogue, "This boy is doing a good job, and you're living in your Disney effing ivory tower, and we need more effing money." Without missing a beat, he responded, "Okay, how much?" So,
that's awesome.
Do you have a favorite Sean Connery part, Troy?
Well, I haven't seen it in a lot of years, but I do remember loving. Was it called Dragonheart, where he did the voice of the dragon?
Yes, I remember that.
That was a good one. That one, I don't even remember the whole story. I just remember wasn't there a really sad ending on that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, good prevails, but at a cost. And we could probably guess what's going to happen. But
yeah, I mean, I just remember that, but obviously, I loved his James Bond stuff. But I got to be honest with you. My favorite role for him was Ramirez in Highlander.
Oh, yeah. I always forget about that. Yeah, he was... He was the Egyptian.
He was the Egyptian,
Scottish accent.
Spanish, Scottish guy. Yeah.
And didn't someone in the stream when you did it, you said, "How do you know the Egyptians didn't have Scottish accents when they were speaking in their own language?"
Well, that's a good point. That's an excellent point. But the reality was he was originally Egyptian, but through the years he was now living in Scotland, and who knows how many. He could have been generations there living in Scotland. You pick up the accent,
This is true. Even living in Florida, I picked up a couple things.
So he and so what's interesting is and that's what I love about movies, how just in a few lines of dialogue you get this implied storyline, right? So you assume sometime in ancient Egypt he discovers that he's immortal. He travels the world. At some point he ends up in Spain. He must have had, a great life there because he loves the clothing and the style of Spain. But then he ends up in Scotland, picks up the accent, but he hasn't given up the Spanish clothing. That I find very interesting. And if you're going to be an immortal, I kind of understand that. I'm surprised we don't see that more with like vampire stories, with their immortal, backgrounds and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if they ever did anything like that on True Blood. Of course, I had some issues with that show too, but
I have to admit, I never. Oh yeah, True Blood was the HBO thing, right?
I do remember one guy on there though. He did have a perfect Southern accent, but then when he got angry, his like Eastern European accent would pop out.
Which was, of course, because the actor really was British.
Oh, probably, or whatever. Yeah, or whatever he was. Yeah, but I think it was implied that he would affect one because he was in the country so long. Probably since the olden days. But
can't speak to that too much because we even bought the first couple seasons, but when they got too far away from the books, we were like, okay, done.
Yeah, I hear they got pretty far off, but I'm trying to think though if anything else I want to say about Sean Connery.
What's your favorite Sean Connery role?
There are a lot. It's funny because Big Al and I were both big fans of the movie Sword of the Valiant.
Oh yeah,
Sword of the Valiant. And I've been waiting forever for that to come out on Blu-ray because it was always shown on Saturday afternoons. And it's like you're home. It's a rainy Saturday. What are you going to put on the TV? Sword of the Valiant's on. It's like a B-movie version of Excalibur, but they have Sean Connery as the Green Knight. And even though it didn't have the highest budget, it was like a Golden Globus movie. I loved him as the Green Knight. Okay, when he came on, he had a presence. And it's funny because I got the Blu-ray in the mail on the very day Sean Connery died. So. Yeah, but James Bond movies, love the James Bond movies. The first 5 Connerys, I think, are the pinnacle of Bond. Diamonds Are Forever, not so much, but it's still a good bad. It's still a bad movie that I like.
Yeah,
they're bad movies that are bad and I don't like them, and then they're bad movies that I like. But maybe that means they're not that bad. But I don't know. But I love of course, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. He's been in a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think. Even the smaller film was like Medicine Man. I enjoyed that. I don't know if you saw that one.
What was? Oh, I did see that one.
He was in the rainforest. I forgot who was acting.
Finds a cure for cancer or something, but they bulldoze the rainforest and destroy it. Yeah,
I remembered that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he was in. He was Alan Quarterman in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That's right, and
Richard.
The Untouchables.
Yes, I forgot about the Untouchables. Oh,
that's the Chicago way.
I love the Untouchables. Yep. Oh, that's a whole. I'll go off on a tangent talking about that movie.
Oh God, I want to do a rewatch of that. What's wrong? You can't talk with a gun in your mouth? Blam!
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you anything you want to know.
Darby O'Good and the Little People.
Oh, that was his first role. In fact, that's the one that led to him getting James Bond.
Yeah, and Wolf 10 Media mentions also that he was Richard III, King Richard in Prince of Thieves.
Oh, that's right. And you don't expect it because he wasn't in any of the billing or anything. So when you get to the end of that movie and it's Sean Connery, it's like, oh my gosh.
Definitely. And then what do they do in Men in Tights?
I forget who was
Patrick Stewart.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Which I thought was funny, and it's like, is he the lower tier Sean Connery? I don't know.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, everybody loves Patrick Stewart in most things.
Well, at least I used to.
Yeah, I know. And times change, but I'm happy that at least Sean Connery, I think he left this world on a good note. Yeah. He will be missed, but he is immortal. We will always remember his movies, and I wish him well in the afterlife. Rest in peace, and
Amen.
family well too. Yeah.
And you know, I mean, even though I say that George Lazenby was in my favorite James Bond film, I have to agree with my wife and so many others that he was the best James Bond.
Yes.
But the future of James Bond ain't looking so bright without him.
Now we are going on to the next topic, and I think I wanted to. Did I write? I don't know what I wrote in the thumbnail. Was it James Bond woes?
Something like that.
This latest Bond movie, No Time to Die,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to tell you, when I heard that title, I think there's a joke about the Bond title blender at this point. Okay, time, die, no, yeah, just put all that in and mix it up. Doctor No,
Yeah.
Die Another Day. Well, I mean, I've seen these words and titles before.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about Skyfall. At least that's something. It's original. I mean, at least piqued my interest. Okay, but
Casino Royale was actually a James Bond title from the novels.
oh, no one was better at titles than Ian Fleming. Come on,
right?
Ian Fleming knew how to write great titles. Moonraker.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know what a Moonraker is, but I'm curious. Okay,
right, exactly. Yeah. So I guess where do we start? We start with the fact that the movies really, there used to be a development hell. Now it's a release hell. So we have a movie that they can't figure out how to release it, and MGM has asked is looking to get it out on streaming somehow, and it's not getting sold.
Yeah, and I'm hearing all sorts of stories about this. I do think that, at least on the surface, when I heard this actually made a lot of sense to me for both Netflix and MGM, because I'm thinking Netflix, they had kind of a fiasco over the summer that we talked about last week, and MGM, you know, the theaters are not open. We don't know when they're opening. We don't know if and when they open, if people are going to go like they used to.
Right.
And there is a lot of money sunk into this movie. I have down here $300 million budget. They had spent $66 million on marketing costs before we had the beer bug shutdown.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a bit of a problem here,
because that's all lost revenue. That comes right off their bottom line. Done.
They had reshoots. I think they had costly reshoots because I think Daniel Craig got into an accident because he tends to like do his own stunts.
Yeah.
I know that. Didn't they lose the director at some point early in production? Or was that before they started production? I thought they were having issues with the director.
I actually didn't know about that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Maybe it was the whole Guy Ritchie thing, and then he ceased to want to be part of the project. Maybe I don't know if they had started filming.
I don't think anyone wants to be a part of the project anymore except Lashana Lynch.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, yes. We'll get to her.
And MGM and Eon Productions considered releasing the film through paid video on demand option, kind of like they did with Mulan.
Yeah, which worked out really stellar for Disney, right?
Yes. And Midnight's Edge had a really good video on this.
They did drop the link on that. They break down, because there's very complicated rights related to James Bond. So there's a lot of moving pieces there, and Midnight's Edge is brilliant at being able to pick that stuff apart. But really, we are still in that. All of these big budget films, that's where the crux of it is. They're all big budget, and we're going into a paradigm where they're not going to be able to make their money off of it. If they can't release it in theaters, they're not going to make it back on streaming. They're not going to make it back on DVD. They have to be able to release it in theaters. And if they can't, they're effed. They're going to lose money. Plus, many of these movies, especially this James Bond film, they go into debt to make these films. And the people that they owe money to are not going to just sit around and wait for them. They got to pay that money back, whether they've released the movie or not. So there's a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, I mean, well, not only that too, but this was, I've often see the Bond productions too as almost like a family-owned production, right?
Right.
Barbara Broccoli.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it still is. I know, of course, they're tied with MGM, but Eon Productions, that's all her, right? So
Yeah, and like I said, they have multiple agreements. So there's Aon, there's MGM, there's everyone's got their hand in it, and they all have to work together. Otherwise, that makes it even more difficult. When you have multiple parties that can't agree on something, you can't afford that when it's hard enough trying to get it to market.
exactly. And I don't know. I don't think they're doing themselves any favors too by this other article, the one the Latasha Lynch article, right?
Lashana Lynch,
Lashana,
yeah.
sorry, I have her name written down.
So this is not new. I don't know
No,
why this is coming up. Well, actually, I take that back. I do know exactly why it's coming up. So we'll talk about that. This article from Bounding into Comics, they're saying James Bond franchise kills itself. Lashana Lynch's character will inherit the 007 title. This actually came out like 6 months ago. People were talking.
This is old news, and I don't know why it's being resuscitated.
Okay, so I will hit on that, and
Okay.
and I'm also going to drop a link to Nerdrotic talking about it. Had some excellent insights on it. This falls under the whole Hollywood still doesn't understand that this idea of any publicity is good publicity is not true. Bad publicity hurts your bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Disney will tell you that. Okay, they know between Brie Larson and so many others that are really, really hurting their box office. Get Woke, Go Broke is actually holding up very, very well. So when you push something like this, and you start, hitting all the touchstones of the Me Too, this is a new era, female James Bond, all that kind of stuff, you lose your entire fan base. Your entire fan base is all the people who happen to like a masculine, Sean Connery-esque James Bond. And right on the cusp of Sean Connery passing, we're getting this news piece again. That is horrible timing, because I've already seen it on Twitter. The feminine, no, I better not use that phrase.
Yeah.
The jackbooted feminists,
You almost got there.
yeah, are coming out trying to cancel a dead actor, saying, toxic masculinity, blah, 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 blah.
I'd read headlines. I'm like, I don't even want to know. I'm going to find positive stuff to say about Connery. Okay. And I'm sure they were saying all sorts of things.
All kinds of negative stuff about it, and it's true. He was in life. He was as much a womanizer as his character, from the movies. But I mean, I'm sorry, but we've come to realize that people in Hollywood are horrible people. They are users, and it doesn't matter what gender you are.
I had my own theory, and I'm wondering, is this the only way to get like a more progressive media to talk about a Bond movie, is by trying to dial up this angle? Because that's the only thing that makes any sense to me.
Okay.
Like they would.
I am open to that theory.
I may be completely wrong. It's a random.
No, I'm not going to dismiss it. You may have something there, but my counterpoint to that would be, is it self-defeating though to do that? Is that the kind of publicity you want if it's going to hurt and drive away your fan base? You look at Star Wars that completely lost its fan base in favor of a new fan base that never arrived. They're doing the same thing with James Bond. You have your niche audience. Either you cater to them or you don't bother at all.
Yeah. And there is a built-in audience for Bond movies, and that's
Yes.
me. I mean, all of us in these communities, we have the things we like. One of my things was every couple of years going to see a Bond movie. I used to go see the Pierce Brosnan movies. People pick on his movies sometimes, but I thought they were fun. Okay, well, maybe.
I'll tell no.
Okay, yeah.
Wait a minute. I will support the Pierce Brosnan films, even if I didn't like the writing, because I liked Pierce Brosnan. He should have been the James Bond when they got Timothy Dalton. I hate the Timothy Dalton films.
I have a soft spot for License to Kill, though. And I know people hate that movie, but I have a soft spot for that one. But
I don't even remember that one.
That's the one with him versus the evil drug lord from South America. Oh,
who is the Bond girl in that one? That's how I usually remember the movie.
She ended up being on Law and Order. I don't remember the.
There was a lot of people on Law and Order, man.
Well, I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, Auditor Dredd makes a point, though. Why did they make Lashana Lynch so masculine? They did the same thing to Rose Tico. It's like the feminists are saying it's not strong to be feminine, so borrow traits from the boys. Hypocrites. I mean, I'm looking at her. I mean, she could be a Bond girl. She has a great face.
I just think, when I saw her first, I thought of Iman from whichever James Bond she was in. You remember?
Oh, Iman?
Yeah, wasn't she one of the Bond girls?
No, I don't think so. Maybe she was in a Mission Impossible. I don't know, but I'm trying to though.
Yeah, which?
I don't remember. Oh, someone mentions Denise Richards. Question Wolf 10 mentions that. But basically, what I wanted to say though is that I had some good points about this. I have some nasty things written down here.
View to a Kill. Iman was in View to a Kill. There you go.
No.
Thank you, Netter.
Thinking of
Grace Jones.
Grace Jones. Grace Jones. View to a Kill didn't work for me at all, but I thought, I don't know why this isn't working, because Grace Jones as a henchwoman, perfect, because here's
the thing. Okay, you want James Bond. No. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. You want 007 to be smooth, sophisticated, and sexy. Okay, that's what James Bond has to be. And if you're going to change Bond's gender, you need to be smooth and sophisticated and sexy, sultry. That's what it has to be. And if you're going to do this and you're just going to be an action character, I'm sorry, that's not James Bond. I don't need that. I can go watch Mission Impossible, or I can go watch Fast and the Furious for that.
Oh, it's funny. I made my last comment on here is the Mission Impossible movies are acting like better Bond movies than the Bond movies we're getting these days. But
well, and here's what I also want to ask. Is it just men that like classic James Bond? I know Netter happens to be a big James Bond fan. She really likes Sean Connery. She never seemed offended by it. She thought he was sexy. I mean, I got to live with that. But I'd like to hear from some of the female audience members. What do you think? Do you want a cuckold James Bond who's marginalized and in favor of a masculine woman that doesn't really appeal to either men or women? I mean, is this good James Bond? Does this make him more the franchise more attractive to a new audience? I don't know.
I mean, I've made a point here. Like, I'm fine with her being a 00 agent. Okay. Yeah. I just think no one else should be 007. 007 has always been James Bond. It's not even that he's always been an English white male. He's just always been James Bond.
Right.
And you don't want to change that. And I feel like, and now this article turns into it. Now it's become about the fans attacking and abusing the actress because of her race and gender, which isn't what it is. But then it turns into that, and everybody ends up feeling bad at the end of the day. And this is trolling. Yep. And this is trolling the audience again. And I don't know how this is going to sell tickets. Okay?
Right. I don't, there is absolutely no upside to this. All you're doing is the people that are passionate about it are the ones that would pay to see your movie. You do things to purposely antagonize them. They're not going to show up, and you're left holding an empty sack at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That is not going to help you recoup your losses, and that's what it's going to be. They're going to lose money on this movie, and it's just a question of how much. They want to minimize their losses, and they're making all the decisions to maximize their losses, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Melissa Harris, thank you so much. No, I want a badass James Bond. There you go.
I have a comment here too. I felt this way, especially after coming out of Spectre. I'm tired of every time I go to a Bond movie, it's like I'm going to a funeral for the character.
Yeah.
I can tell the people behind the production, it feels like they're all embarrassed of James Bond at this point. Daniel Craig has, I think, been quoted saying, I don't really feel like playing the character. Oh, he's a misogynist. He said these things. Why is he playing Bond at this point?
Right.
And now this is Bond coming out of retirement. And it's like, I don't want old man James Bond. James Bond should be younger. He should be in his 30s, 40s. I mean, I don't know, even 40s. I think 30s. They
blew it. They really blew it, because with Casino Royale, they were rebooting this series.
Yes.
And they had an opportunity, and I honestly, I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Mr. H, maybe it was somebody else, who said that they really felt like with Casino Royale, they were going back to the original novel. And it's like, okay, maybe they're rebooting it by, doing faithful adaptations. But by the time you got to the next movie, nope, that's not what they were doing. They've gone off completely somewhere else with this. Oh, Leia plus size. I love that. I like James Bond, strong, sexy, and badass, man. Period. I appreciate you saying that. I really, really do. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, between Leia plus size and Melissa Harris and Netter over here, I feel like, look, James Bond is not just for men. It's not just for white men who, want to be him. It's also for the women who want to be with him.
That's the old expression: women want him, and men want to be him.
Right.
And did you see Spectre? That was the last one.
I may have done. I know I have it on DVD. I may not have watched it.
It's not good. It was terrible. I don't know what went wrong with that one, but I didn't care for it. And
was that the one where you found out that M was someone's mother or something like that?
No. Did that happen in a movie?
Yeah. Because they M is now what's her name?
Well, Judi Dench, but then
Dench.
Oh wait, but she's not M anymore because of that one movie. Oh, I don't know.
I kind of lost
times and I didn't realize that. Okay, all right. Never mind. I thought he just referred to that as an affectionate term because she was the one running the organization. I didn't realize. Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, Auditor Dredd says, didn't Daniel Craig express his hatred to be James Bond since filming Spectre? I don't know when it happened, but you know what? I have no respect for somebody who's in a role making money and hating everything about the role. Get the hell out of the role then. If you can't respect the role, then don't take the money.
Just don't.
You're a freaking hypocrite.
And I'm telling you, I don't like seeing Bond this old either. I mean, not to pick on Roger Moore, but especially by that last movie, he was getting a little long in the tooth playing that character.
Right.
And I mean, I felt like they kicked Brosnan out a little soon. I mean, he did 4, and my reasoning at the time was Bond the actor's getting older. They want a younger actor, but they've been kicking Daniel Craig around forever because they're having so much trouble recasting that.
Well, and at this point, I think they've made it a role and a franchise nobody wants to be involved in anymore. I'll be honest with you. I mean, if I was, young and hot and in Hollywood, I wouldn't want to be James Bond because, I wouldn't want to deal with the people that are putting it together,
Yeah. I want to address Leia plus size here. Maybe I was dumb, but I thought after Skyfall, we were going to get better Bond movies where he was a badass. I was waiting for.
Leia plus size, I would say not dumb, but maybe, optimism needs to be tempered with realism. I think we've seen way too much from Hollywood to get too optimistic about
But I am
anything
going to say
anymore.
this: when that happened, Marvel was going strong. We didn't have the Disney Star Wars fiasco.
True.
The Skyfall came out. We had. I thought Casino Royale was good. Some people don't like the movie, but I argued it was at least kind of following the novel. And then we had Quantum of Solace. And to be fair, Quantum of Solace was just okay. That was due to the writer's strike. Okay,
Yeah,
they cranked
that's
that
true.
one out real quick.
That's
Then
true.
MGM had all these woes about going under. They were waiting for someone to buy them, and they didn't want to do another Bond movie till that got settled. Finally, we got Skyfall. I thought Skyfall was good, and I thought, okay, now we're back on track. And then we got Spectre, and I, I don't know. I just didn't care as much for that one. I agree. It did start off. Spectre did start off.
Going back to what I was saying about Casino Royale, I thought that they were getting back to the books and that they were going to actually take and do faithful adaptation of the book series.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, they were adapting the books in such a way that it was modern day. Mm. So it's truly an adaptation. I got to be honest with you. I think at this point, what they got to do is they got to scrap it all, wait about 5-10 years, and then reboot it again and do them as period pieces. Do faithful adaptations of the books. Set them during World War II,
Well, no, the original Bond movies, Bond was in World War II, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean,
I think I got to remember.
I've read those. Okay, wait a minute. Let me back up. So Ian Fleming served in World War II.
That's right.
And he was basing it on his own experiences as a spy. I mean, it really is semi-autobiographical. But I know that, you might be right. It may not have actually been set in World War II. It may have been set during the Cold War.
They could do a prequel, though. I don't know. That might have been interesting where he was starting out. I don't remember. What I do remember, though, Casino Royale, when I read the book, I think late 50s, that's when it takes place. And Bond is having a crisis of faith about if he's even doing the right thing by being a spy. But anyway, I'll have to get back to reading those. But yeah, I don't have high hopes for No Time to Die. Maybe they'll surprise us, but this is a very bad way to promote your movie. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're already in the hole for how much money? Over 300 million.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And the longer they wait, the more money they're losing, right?
Yes. That's what they were saying on the Midnight's Edge article. Okay. Anything else to add, Troy?
Nope. I think we've pretty much run that one into the ground.
Well, someone mentioned Zoe Quinn in the chat, which means I have to field this one, right?
Who's Zoe Quinn?
Oh, thank you. Okay, moving on. All right. You don't know who Zoe Quinn is. She's related to Gamergate. Okay.
Oh, okay. So we're going on to that article.
Yes.
Okay.
And where I have to give Troy an education on Gamergate, and I don't have 6 hours.
Oh, geez, it's that involved, huh?
Well, I have kept it down to the bare minimum, but first we have to talk about the latest news, and it's about BuzzFeed Studios. Are we excited for BuzzFeed Studios?
I am not excited about anything related to BuzzFeed at all, so we're already starting out in the hole with this one.
You don't know what BuzzFeed is?
I know what BuzzFeed is. Okay. I don't like them.
Well, that's fine. I hear their men have some testosterone issues because they did I'm sorry. I'm not to pick on anybody. Eat broccoli. Anyway. Anyway, yeah, we'll get to the other article next, too. But we have the One-Up movie. Oh, I have some comments here. This is a stupid title for a movie about esports. Do people in esports get one-ups? It's a Super Mario Brothers term. But anyway. First featured at BuzzFeed Studios. I have in parentheses and the last. Ellen Page
probably.
And Paris Borelli. Am I saying her name right? Paris Borelli?
Beats me.
It's a star. Borelli will portray a gamer who quits her college esports team due to sexism from her male counterparts. To keep her scholarship, she's forced to assemble an all-female team and enlists the help of a coach portrayed by Paige who has a gaming scandal in her past. From Variety.
So my first instinct is to ask, who the hell is the audience for this piece of crap?
Yeah, I mean, one YouTuber I follow sometimes is Leanna Kersner, and she mentioned who is this for? Because at least if you had like some men that were helping her out and not the jerks like on the other side, it would be have more balance. But all the men in this are bad. Okay.
Holy cow! Wait a minute! Wait a minute! Wait a minute! Let's get back to this GamerGate thing. Put up Auditor Dread's comment.
Oh, word.
Long story short, Zoe Quinn causes a man to commit suicide through gaslighting him, saying she was abused by him online. Man lost his job and killed himself afterwards. Oh my God! This is what GamerGate is.
No, that's aftermath of Gamergate. I'm gonna get to that auditor.
Oh
Dread.
my God! There's a story here. This is a movie I kind of think I want to see.
No, it's nothing to do with this. See, this is
Jeez.
this is going to be the Cuties article of this week. Okay.
Oh my God!
And I try to avoid. Apparently, YouTube doesn't like the S word. Okay, that like many words they don't.
What
like.
S word?
I have the word that means taking your own
Oh,
life.
for crying out loud! I'm sorry, I had no idea. I don't know what words we can use anymore.
Nothing. You can't say anything. I've heard some people say checking out early. Okay, because anyway. But yes, I'm going to get to that because Troy needs an education on Gamergate. Which is
apparently Troy needs an education in what words YouTube will allow us to say.
That'll be an interesting thing to make a video on, and then to see it taken away.
Yeah, right.
Of course, nobody's paying attention to me right now. Of course, maybe Zoe Quinn is, and she's terrifying. Anyway, anyway, people are dubbing this the quote unquote Gamergate movie, which is now I have to explain Gamergate, the Troy Pacelli.
There may be some other people in this stream that don't know what Gamergate is,
and maybe there's some people who will correct me because this is a rabbit hole. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see though. But yeah,
Netter put her hand up. She's like, me? I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. Gamergate was the beginning of the whole culture war that we're now currently fighting. As you notice that maybe far left progressives were sneaking into entertainment media a while ago. They got into board gaming. They got into the science fiction fantasy writing community. Then they tried getting involved in video games, and it kind of blew up on them. But I think they still won in the end. But I'll read you the Wikipedia quote. The Wikipedia explanation to what Gamergate is, and then I will tear it apart. Okay, so I'm not agreeing with this assessment. The Gamergate controversy concerned an online harassment campaign primarily conducted through the use of the hashtag @Gamergate that centered on issues of sexism and anti-progressivism in video game culture. Gamergate is used as a blanket term for the controversy as well as for the harassment campaign and actions of those participating in it. That is from Wikipedia.
That sounds pretty biased to me. I'm guessing there's more involved than that.
Oh, man. Yeah, let me know if you see any good quotes for me to point out. Okay, too. Okay, this was the media narrative I've written down here. This was over 6 years ago. This was fall of 2014 when this broke out. Okay. And this is when I learned that the news media creates narratives. But but I mean, I know they've been doing it, but this was very obvious to me. This is my opinion on what Gamergate was. Not opinion. This is what it was. I keep saying that. I keep trying to make qualifiers. I'm not. This is anyway.
Yeah.
I just have to prove it, which is hard to do in this, okay? Because anyway. Gamergate was a consumer revolt against video game journalism. Okay, that's what I've always felt it was. People were tired of progressive politics being shoved down our throats when we just wanted to read about gaming and gaming news and reviews. This came to a head with the Zoe Quinn scandal. Zoe Quinn was an independent game developer that was sleeping with Nathan Grayson, who was a games journalist over at the website Kotaku. He was giving her game publicity, and this was noted on the blog of Aaron. I'm probably saying that wrong. Her ex. Okay, I should know these terms by now. And let me see. I think if Nathan Grayson had just been fired for not disclosing he had a relationship with her or was even just a friend of hers, you don't have to get into the whole sexual side of things. I think if he had just been fired, this whole thing would have died down. but instead the gaming sites all rallied and they all published on the same day gamers are dead articles. Gamers don't need to be your audience. You don't need gamers, okay? And I think it was Milo Yiannopoulos of Breitbart that did digging and found out that there was like they were all in cahoots with each other, passing this narrative.
Sure.
And I think that's how we now know, like nowadays when we see the media and people post videos of the media saying this exact same thing all at once. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Videos like that? I think this was discovered back then around Gamergate.
Yeah. And everyone wants to rip on Breitbart, but Breitbart is the last bastion of actual investigative journalism.
Yes. Now we have going on with Candace Owens, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You know who Candace Owens is,
of course,
right?
I know who Candace Owens.
Okay. Well, this is my theory on the whole harassment, okay? Because, of course, no, I don't go around online harassing people anonymously, okay? Even people I don't like, okay? And if I'm going to attack someone, I at least would do it to their face, you know? Okay? Mm-hmm. But, of course, Gamergate, everything was anonymous, even criticism. So no one really knows who is saying what, okay?
Yeah.
And with Candace Owens was trying to start a Kickstarter called Social Autopsy. Okay. And it was a means to catalog the abuses of cyber bullies, lifting masks of those online harassers, meaning she was trying to come up with something that would expose people who did online harassment. Okay.
Sure.
And this is something that Zoe Quinn had complained had been done to her, all this online harassment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zoe Quinn, this is the woman from the scandal about the journalism scandal. She contacted Candace Owens and told her to cease and desist. And then a moment later, Candace Owens had received, she told her, she basically didn't want Candace Owens creating this thing. And you would think that someone who complained about getting harassed would want something like this, right? Okay. But she wanted Candace Owens to cease and desist, saying she doesn't want to expose anybody. And that didn't make any sense. As soon as Candace Owens got off the phone with her, suddenly she got a barrage of people attacking her online, calling her, a bad word that begins with an N and all sorts of things. Okay. Wow. And Candace Owens figured out that this was Zoe Quinn. Mm-hmm. It had to be her behind this because she had just talked to her on the phone and was warning her to get rid of this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was long after that people kept complaining to Kickstarter, and her whole campaign, her entrepreneurial campaign was destroyed. Okay. And I had heard about this story online, and of course now years later she's become an activist, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but before this, she was just trying to become an entrepreneur, wasn't involved in politics. Okay. And this makes me think that it is my suspicion that Zoe Quinn manufactured her own harassment and the harassment of others. Now, can I prove any of this? No. Am I suspicious that this is what happened? Yes. Okay. And then we have do you want to hear about the gentleman that took his own life? Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, this goes into the other article you had mentioned. I don't know if you want to drop that other article again. The one about the Gamergate film announcement angers Zoe Quinn and Brianna Wu.
Yeah. Let me drop.
You want to go and drop that in the chat again? I appreciate it. But yeah, now of course Zoe Quinn has popped out again, and the Gamergate film announcement sparks outrage among movement's opponents, including Zoe Quinn and Brianna Wu. And I'm very cynical. I was arguing that she didn't get cut a paycheck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously anything supposedly having to do with Gamergate, even though that's not specifically what the movie is about, even though people are calling it the Gamergate movie. And I think she's upset that she didn't get a paycheck.
So it sounds to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, this film is the film equivalent of ripped from the headlines. It's inspired by something that really happened, but it's a fictionalized story. So she really doesn't have a claim to anything that they're doing.
No. But she's probably angry that she wasn't consulted.
So Zoe Quinn needs to go out and work with some Hollywood types to do a biopic or some,
she wrote a memoir. It didn't get. I think it was going to get picked up for a movie, and then nothing came of that. There was rumor that they were going to have Scarlett Johansson play her, which is kind of funny. A few things, but yeah, the whole thing with she was in the news last year because I haven't seen her since the last news story she was involved in, where she had described a relationship with a man called Alec Kawaka, an indie developer. She was in a relationship with him, but she started saying how it was abuse and wrote very nasty things that he did to her. And then this indie developer got fired from a project he was on because, of course, going back to what we were saying earlier in the first story,
Right.
you know, about what women can do. And he took his own life, and that was unfortunate. And then later on, people did some digging into her claims and realized that she and him couldn't have been in the same place on the date she said she was there, because they had like social media evidence that she was in another area of the country. Okay. And that stuff she was writing on social media was contradicting like dates and times and where she was at the time. You know what I mean? So we're thinking she was doing this to get attention. And, that this man, unfortunately, he did take his own life. So this is a bad person. She keeps getting opportunity after opportunity. Someone's looking out for her higher up. I don't know who it is. She's a DC Comics and Marvel writer right now too. So I remember mentioning, I think it was a year ago when the Addams Family movie was coming out, and they're going to do an Addams Family comic book, and I mentioned that to the professor, and I says, but Zoe Quinn's writing one of the stories for it, and I heard him do an audible, no, because he knows who she is.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah. This sounds just like the video game Gamer Girl, where a bunch of the streamers got angry because they didn't get input on the project. Oh yeah, we did that on an earlier stream. There was also a Law and Order episode about GamerGate that was very sensationalized. It had all these evil gamers harassing this game developer, and I don't know, they kidnap her and stuff, and it's
well, but I'll tell you, when you do something that's fictionalized, it's
you
like
can do whatever you want. Yeah.
And I was going to say, you can make a story about what you believe Gamergate to be. Since it's fiction, that's fine. You can be inspired to do, I could do a fictionalized idea of something, and I'm not doing a documentary or something. If you do a documentary about it and you use the same names and you tell this fictional story, that's a problem.
Yeah. I don't think the true story of this is ever going to come out, because I know the FBI investigated it and they didn't find anything.
Yeah.
Okay. But
yeah, I have a great deal of faith in the FBI.
What?
I have a great deal of faith in the FBI.
Well, not now, but this was before even the current presidency. This is they said, okay, we'll go investigate. They couldn't find the stuff that they were claiming was going on. But
I could see a bunch of them going, we're investigating video game people.
Exactly.
Really?
What was funny when Candace Owens was being interviewed, she's like, I don't know anything about video games. Pac-Man, that's what I know. And the thing is,
I love her. I really do.
Video games are a big hobby of mine. Okay. And this is when I basically started noticing the progressives thing. This is sort of what brought me, because I wasn't necessarily on this side of things, and I didn't get involved in Gamergate, even though I know a lot more about it than probably I should, but I never got involved in it.
And I know that Geeks and Gamers does a lot of talk about this kind of stuff. My eyes kind of gloss over a little bit when I try to watch the videos, because they're talking about things I have no idea about,
Well, here's another problem with current gaming, though. I mean, like I said, I said in the past, I'm not going to be doing too much with games in there because, frankly, it's a depressing subject to me right now.
Yeah.
But like, I know when Wolfton was on a little while ago, like, he was complaining about the Sony, the PlayStation 5, about how he will not, he won't buy any more Sony consoles, because Sony went full SJW over there. They'll harass Japanese developers if they have like sexy women in their games, but they'll do other stuff that's in bad taste in their own games, but that would offend like more conservative people. You know what I'm saying? They've gone full on woke over there, and it's just sad. And
how's that turning out for their sales?
We don't know yet, but one interesting thing about the PlayStation 5, about the Xbox One, the Xbox One is actually selling well over in Japan. Apparently the pre-orders are sold out, and they say that's weird because Microsoft consoles never sell well in Japan. But I'm wondering if the Japanese are now catching on. We're tired of our stuff being censored by Sony, and we're going to go with the American competition now. So That's interesting. Of course, some would argue Sony is now an American company since now they're based in California, and that might explain a lot of what's going on. But yeah, this is. I made a point though that I think what this is going to end up being is this is BuzzFeed versus Zoe Quinn.
Yeah.
It would be great if one of them could take out one of the other, But probably what
Yeah.
will end up happening is BuzzFeed's going to cut her in somehow. I bet that's what's going to happen.
Well, that's fine. They're still going to lose because again, I'm going back to what I started out this topic on. Who the F is their audience? Really? I mean, and how is this being distributed? Is this is going to be on a streaming service where nobody, cares about gaming and cares about this particular topic?
It's not for anybody. So we'll see how it is. Does BuzzFeed have a huge audience that likes to go to movies and see this sort of thing? I don't go to BuzzFeed, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the sum total of people that are going to have any interest in this are Ellen Page fans. Does she have any fans left?
I don't know, but it's interesting to bring up Ellen Page. She was in a video game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
Beyond
All of her was in a video game.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that. How there was a glitch in the computer version of that game.
Well, it's not a glitch, but I mean, fans, people know how to go in and mod games. And there's a scene where Ellen Page's character is in a shower. And if you know how to go in and mod the game so that you can move the camera around, well, I mean, what's amazing is you find out that they put detail into this rendering of her body that was never going to be seen. And it's like, well, why did they do that? Well, they had to have done it because they knew someone would mod it and be interested.
Maybe. Yep. You think that's why they did it? I don't know. Maybe they just didn't figure.
Or they were just doing it to amuse themselves.
I think they were. Well,
somebody put the effort in to make that computer graphic anatomically correct. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I have the PS3 version, so I'm stuck. Okay.
And so Ellen Page thought that was really, really terrible. And it's like, well, then give your check back. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. So are you understanding this story?
I get it. Did
I explain it well? Because you got a very condensed version of the game.
I got the gist of it, and here's what it comes down to. They're making a movie based on something, and nobody cares, and nobody's going to pay any money for it. And you're absolutely right. BuzzFeed is going to make one movie and then never do it again.
Yes. Okay.
And that's GamerGate.
That's GamerGate, not GamersGate.
GamersGate
is a video game rental site, and they probably got they
really. Are you serious?
They probably crapped themselves when the schedule. Do you know where the GamerGate thing came from?
No.
Do you know Adam Baldwin, the actor? He was on Chuck.
Yeah.
He was sympathetic with the gamers that were getting angry about everything going on, and he coined the term GamerGate as a take on the term Watergate. You understand? We figured out all this corruption in the journalism. But people don't understand that's what it meant. Okay. Yeah. It was a term about corruption in games journalism. And the thing I found funny about it is that games journalists are kind of bottom tier journalists. Okay. Okay. They are the people that couldn't get a job at the New York Times or Esquire or something like that. Okay. And I have a feeling some of them, they end up working in games, not because they like video games, because they couldn't get a job anywhere else. So that's where they're pushing their progressive politics and stuff. And I did notice, though, that the big media, though, whatever, they did run to their defense, because even a low tier journalist, I guess, is worth defending. That's what I realized from this. A couple of firings is all that needed to happen, and this thing would have gone away.
Well,
they refused.
This sounds like it's going about as well as politics in sports has gone. I remember because I remember years ago when I was trying to think of ways to explain GamerGate to someone who didn't know anything about games. I was saying it'd be like opening up the sports page and finding an article on critical race theory when you're just trying to find out who won the big game last night. Exactly. And, nobody cares,
And now I think that is in the actual sports page. That's what you find.
I do. I think
for the article on who won the big game last night.
I think about that Peter Griffin meme. Oh my God, who the F cares? Seriously. It's like, I came to watch sports. I came to play games. I don't want to hear about politics. and yet they've decided they're going to cram it all in there. And what do we always say? Get woke, go broke.
Yes. Oh, Brian Gilmartin has a point. You know what? It'd be funny if Zoe Quinn was in Warriors Orochi and you could fight her as one of the female characters. Yeah, I don't know. That's not going to happen. Plus, they'd have to pay her royalties. Oh, Auditor Dread brings up a good point. Yeah, this was the.
What?
I got to talk about this. I remember Devil May Cry 5 was censored first on PS4, but they supposedly retract the censoring. It's odd as Nintendo doesn't actually censor their waifu
titles. Yeah.
Titles. Okay, I thought it was titties, but anyway, TIDDIES. Okay, no, I know what he's talking about. I'm going to go on another rant here in a minute. I bought a PlayStation 5. I did not buy another game console because I felt the game companies were not fighting on our behalf, and I was mad. But I always made the argument that if they ever remade Resident Evil 2, that would be enough to get me to buy a game console again. Okay. And sure enough, Capcom said we're bringing out Resident Evil 2. So I was like, okay, I have to buy a new game console to play Resident. I don't play on PC. I know you play on PC. Yeah. But maybe I would have been better off. But anyway, so I decided to go, and I finally decided to get a PlayStation 4. I got the Spider-Man PlayStation 4, the big red one with the Spider-Man symbol on it.
Yeah.
And I was very excited, and I figured, well, no one's censoring anything because I'm worried that all this stuff is going to lead to censorship, especially the censorship of these niche Japanese titles I like. But yeah. And then Devil May Cry 5 comes out, and they actually, and then, oh no, before that even happened, Sony starts censoring smaller titles, and I'm not liking it, but I'm like, well, these are games I'm probably not going to be buying. I'm not going to be buying these are probably games I wasn't planning on buying anyway. But then they censored Devil May Cry 5, and they censored a woman's bare butt. I mean, this is an M-rated game, and this was a guy rescuing just a woman that was lying naked on the road. He was just rescuing her, okay? Yeah. And I didn't feel that was in bad taste at all. Yeah. Not that I even have a problem that things are in bad taste in games, if you know what I mean. But it's like I didn't, and I figured that's like censoring like an art statue, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. They've gone too far, and they did retract the censorship of that scene. And this is after you bought the game. Like it's okay, and then a patch downloads and censors over the thing you bought.
Yeah.
Remember we were saying this about movies the other week?
Yep.
You okay? I'm hardly hearing you.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I moved
it's
my
okay.
mic.
I hear you now. Okay. But anyway, and I got so mad at that I ended up buying an Xbox One. And it's funny because I spent a lot of money on the PlayStation 5. I got an Xbox One for $199 free shipping.
Wow.
Okay, and even came with Minecraft. Not that I've ever played Minecraft, but but it came with the console, and $199 free shipping. And Microsoft, they're not perfect, but they don't censor games because the thing is, we have a rating system the way movies have a rating system. You know, like the MPAA. Well, gaming has a rating system.
Yes, it does.
And you follow that rating system. If this game has this, and it gets an M rating, it gets a teen rating, that sort of thing. Yeah. The trouble was Sony is now making games censor stuff that even gets through that rating system. Says if we don't like this, it's not going to be in the game, and they do it on a case by case basis, and we don't know who's making these decisions over there. And I just had it, okay, yeah. And I don't like censorship of art, and I think video games are an art form of a sort, and yeah.
Well, and I would argue if you're going to bother having a rating system, then just put out the games with that rating system.
Exactly.
If you have to make it mature, you make it mature, and we live with the content.
And some people argue, well, Sony has the right as the owner of the platform. This would be like if a theater chain made a movie, put in more censorship than another theater chain. Like if AMC didn't like something in a Deadpool movie, made them take it out, and Regal was okay with it. If it abides by the ratings, you leave it alone. But they argue, well, because they're the platform holder. I'm like, well, I don't have to be playing games on that platform anymore. So I went out and bought another system. Usually when I buy a game console, I just stick it out with the console I bought that whole generation. But this is the first time I went over.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, enough game talk. But now
I would say that's why I usually go with PC, because then I own the physical media and I've got it on my system. And if I don't like the fact that they censored it, I can put in a patch that takes the censorship out. Done.
Did you like the David Stewart article I bought when he was saying he used to buy physical games for the PC? Remember that?
I actually didn't have a chance to read it. I
Okay,
did see that you sent
yeah,
that
well,
to me.
check it out. It's in
Where
the
you
Professor
check.
Geek page.
I did see that.
It's tying in exactly to what we were saying about Amazon next week. Okay, well, I think we should move on to the next topic.
Yep,
Good
absolutely.
news.
Finally, you guys have put up with all the reading and the complaining and the grousing by the old men. Now we finally have some good news for you. Go ahead.
Oh, the good. I thought you were going to do it. Rudolph, Frosty, and Santa will be back on TV this season. You're not
Yep.
getting Charlie Brown, but you're getting the specials.
And this is a direct follow up on what we were talking about last week. Because last week we were talking about how the SJWs have come out of the woodwork and they're trying to cancel Rudolph because of bullying and negative female stereotypes and whatever the F they perceived to be in there. But we've gotten confirmation that it's CBS, isn't it, that carries those?
It is.
CBS
Finally.
is going to be playing them, but I will also say that Netters Network will be hosting rewatches of not only the Rudolph and Frosty and Santa, but the Peanut specials as well. And I recommend, once again, go out and get the physical media. Just because this year we're going to be able to see them on network television doesn't mean you'll be able to next year, and that the social justice warriors won't win and finally cancel Rudolph. So get out there and get the DVDs or download it and save it somewhere. Do whatever you have to do to keep it yourself so that you can always do the rewatches with us.
Yes. And like I said, they are going to be on TV this year, though. But it may not always be that may not always be the case, as Troy says. And yeah, I'm happy. I think though. No, I'm not going to be the rain the rain in this parade. We'll mark this as a win. Okay.
Well, no. How about we do this? If you have something, if you have a pessimistic point of view, shoot it out there, and I can combat it.
We're cheering for something that was a given a few years ago.
Right. No, that's absolutely true. We are at that point, especially in 2020, where just any kind of normalcy seems like a blessing. That's pretty much where we're at these days. But yeah, let's be thankful for it while we can be. Let's celebrate it while we can. We're going to do and because Thursdays are kind of freeing up. Thursdays in December, we're going to be doing rewatches of the Rankin and Bass is when we're going to be doing those, and I'll be releasing the calendar for December very shortly in the Professor Geek group. But yep, something to look forward to for the holidays, I think.
That'll be good. A good live stream for those. I think to talk about those while they're on.
And we're also not talking about. I mean, they're like what 45 minutes.
Yeah,
because no commercials or whatever.
Because we all have memories about that stuff too. I mean,
that's the nice thing. Whether you're old boomers like us or you're young, they've been pretty much on TV since they were released every year. It's a tradition. Mm-hmm. So we all have different memories of them, but we all have holiday memories tied up with these incarnations of these characters.
Yeah. And I think my favorite is Year Without a Santa Claus.
Yeah, was that the one with the Heat Miser
and Cold Miser? Yes.
Yeah, I was kind of going down the rabbit hole the other day as we were getting ready for this particular topic. I found a website where somebody took all the different Rankin and Bass Christmas specials and put them in like a chronological order. And points out that there are some discrepancies where characterizations or depictions don't really match up.
Like they're two different Frosties, right?
Well, not that so much because
I see that. Okay.
With Frosty, that's the only difference is between the fact that there's stop motion animation and 2D animation.
Oh, I see.
But you can forgive that. But like, for example, there's two different versions of Jack Frost. Because there's the Jack Frost where he's kind of a noble character, and then there's the one where he is it one of the Frosties where he's the antagonist, and it's kind of hard to reconcile those two characters. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because
Um,
they're like maybe one's is maybe it's going to be like how in that upcoming Marvel movie how there's going to be another Mandarin, right?
well, maybe exactly, but yeah, there's really no explanation for it. Even though what's interesting is they did take the time to make sure that the visual appearance of him is very very similar. So it's like, well, it looks like it should be the same character, but in personality, they just don't match up. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But then there's also a number of instances where Santa Claus, has the same look and he's voiced by Mickey Rooney, but then in Rudolph, he looks very different and he's kind of a very different character. And that's
Yes,
the one that the SJWs are having a problem with him being kind of
they're going to find something
negative
with
and stuff.
every special at some point. Okay.
Yeah. And for me to reconcile, the Mickey Rooney Santa with the one that we see in Rudolph, I just say, you know what? The year that Rudolph was born, he was just having a really bad year. Maybe he was just kind of grumpy, and he's like, "Oh, great! Now my new reindeer's gonna have a booze nose, for crying out loud. Just what I need. It's gonna hurt my outlook, you know."
Oh, it's funny. Speaking of booze nose, I was thinking. No, I was
That's,
watching.
that made you think of something.
No, I was watching. I was watching Uncle Buck last night, and there's a scene where John Candy punches the drunk clown in the face that shows up at the kid's birthday party.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Okay, I don't know why that just popped in my head when you mentioned booze.
I love that movie.
Oh man.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. I got to do a rewatch of that one.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think what else is going on. Yeah, I think that's it for this week. But I think it's good that these specials are back. CBS, it's good that you're showing something on your network because we don't have any new Magnum PI.
Well, that could also be a part of it, right? I mean, it's not like they can cancel the Christmas specials because what are they going to put in their place? They don't have content to begin with. They're counting on old stuff.
This is worse than there always been Hollywood strikes threatened. The writer's strike is happening. The actor's strike is happening. The Directors Guild is going to be striking. And it turned out the beer bug was worse than any of that.
Yeah. It's like they have no content. That's why, their Star Trek Discovery that they've had behind the paywall. Well, you know what? Let's start releasing that on network television, because what else are we going to show?
And no one's watching it.
And that's the best part of it. Nobody's watching it. And all the true Star Trek fans are looking at that and laughing and saying, we have been unable to substantiate that nobody cares about it because you've hidden it behind a paywall and you don't have to release your numbers. Now you release it on network television, you're giving it away for free and no one will watch it.
Yeah.
You're losing out to reruns of sitcoms. That's how badly you're doing.
You know what I think would do well, and I'm not kidding here, have Enterprise or Deep Space Nine start showing those reruns on in prime time again. I bet they do better than Discovery.
Right.
Or the classic
especially series. Enterprise, because I think the fans really want them to kind of round out that series.
Yeah.
It started to get good. Yes, it took too long for it to get good. By the time it started getting good, it was already too late and the fix was in and they were going to be closing up shop. But it was getting good.
That would be an interesting stream to have sometime. Television series that we want to get proper endings.
Gosh, yeah, there's a lot of them.
For me, it's Superman the animated series. I know they kind of tied it up with Justice League, but I always felt that kind of ended on kind of a
no. Superman, Lois and Clark.
That was another one. Yep.
That was another one that was left pretty much on a cliffhanger.
Yep.
And although it's inspired some stories in the comics, yeah, we never really did get resolution on those.
Yeah.
That's a great one. That's a great one. And yet there's some other series that we actually have gotten the closure on, if for no other reason, because the fans pretty much demanded it. You look at Firefly, heck, even Veronica Mars got another season. That one through crowdfunding.
Really?
Yes, you didn't know
Okay.
about. Well, Nanette was a big a fan of Veronica Mars. I kind of was too, to be honest with you.
And it got the movie, and it got a new series on Hulu.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what about Gilmore Girls?
That,
Although that was actually terrible. I wish they'd have just left it alone.
I didn't see it. I've been meaning to watch it, and it's not
Oh,
good. It's
you
not
don't
good.
want to see the
It's not going to be the
streaming
same
people.
with what was his name? Was it Richard Belzer, the one that played the grandfather?
They did acknowledge
I
that,
know they
yeah,
didn't notch him because the actor passed away, but he
but
was a favorite part of that show.
no, what they did with those characters bothered the heck out of me. It was like you have this character progression for Rory through all the seasons, and it's like they completely undid it. And
Yeah,
it's like, who is this person?
I
You
don't.
know?
Oh, I like Auto Dread. Spectacular Spider-Man deserved 2 more seasons. I don't know if you ever saw that. It was a Spider-Man cartoon. Great cartoon. Okay,
I've heard some stuff about that, and
not
that's
so
not the first time I've heard that.
not
Yeah.
so much the best animation. It was passable, but the writing was excellent on it. It was written by the guy that wrote Gargoyles, and then he went on after that to do Young Justice. But
Gotcha.
really good writer. I liked all the characters on it. Good characterization of Spider-Man. They did Venom well on it. I was a big fan of that show. But according to Melissa Harris, you are echoing. I think this is Echo Night, and I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Oh,
But
I can't even speak to that because I didn't hear it this
I
time
didn't hear it
around.
either. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna investigate this, of course, when I'm cutting this up later. So,
Okay.
all right, and I'll see if I can even correct some of this. But some of that was my fault earlier. But I think we're gonna wrap things up now. Anything else you want to add, though?
Are you sure you want to wrap it up? I mean, it's not like we're going into something else tonight.
That's true. Were there any other articles we wanted to cover? Did you want to do the witch's apology?
Well, we can mention it now that you brought it up.
Well, we don't have to do that one. We can save that for next week.
No, let me go ahead and drop.
Don't you want to hear about the apologizing for the witch?
You know what? Let me drop it so that we don't have to deal with it again
We
later.
don't have to deal with it next week.
So, we talked about the witches. Rolled the film adaptation of Roald Dahl's Witches. I don't care, whatever. But apparently. Apparently there's been a dust up because there is a very specific, if you get into the original book, there's a very specific, and there's a graphic within the book. How do you recognize a witch, right? And what these witches are is they're depicted as a different race, just like I don't know, like a vampire or a werewolf. How would you know them? Okay, a werewolf you recognize by his teeth and his claws and his hair, right? Well, witches, are bald and they have wigs to hide the fact that they're a witch, and they wear gloves to cover the fact that they have 3 fingers in their claws. They're not human.
Mhm.
They are witches. Okay,
Yes.
they're a different. In this world, they're not, people that study magic and are sorcerers. They're, some sort of, fey creature or something like that, and they look different from humans. So just like the visitors from V were lizard people that had to wear masks to hide the fact that they were, alien looking, witches do the same thing. That's the whole point of the story. But apparently this has offended differently abled people who might, have missing fingers or something and are told to wear a glove so that no one can see it or whatever. So Warner Brothers feels they have to apologize. They're deeply saddened that they've offended people with disabilities. And people, come on.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you people now? Seriously, I swear it would be like if you go back a couple years to when they were rebooting the V series, and people with skin conditions were getting offended because the visitors had to cover their lizard skin with masks. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
It's like someone in the circus, like the reptile man that has the skin condition.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is but let me see. Anne Hathaway apologized for it, and I like Auditor Dread's comment. I was offended by Anne Hathaway's apology because it was Anne Hathaway. Oh, okay. I want to make a point that I know over in England, I don't know if it was the British Film Board or something, said that we will no longer have villains with scars. Okay.
Oh,
That this was a
jeez.
thing a few years ago, and I don't know if this was the BBC or just in general movies they were making over there. And I kept thinking, how many Bond movies have like the you have Christopher Lee as the man with the golden gun. He has the superfluous third nipple. Remember
Yeah,
that? And then,
exactly.
or Blofeld with the thing on his eye. Of course, that was a dueling scar. I think that's what that was.
But for
Okay.
crying out loud, are you okay? So now you're going to discriminate against people that have scars. They can't get a role now.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying though too. But in this case, these aren't human beings,
Right.
right? They're not even portrayed as human beings that got scarred. This is just these are how this is the race.
Exactly. It's not like in this world you lose 2 fingers, you become a witch. That's not how this is.
Yes.
Or you're not a human being who cuts off some fingers in order to gain, magical powers or something. This is a race of creatures that look like this.
Or you owe money to the Yakuza. No,
I'll tell you what, maybe they need to apologize to me because witches are bald. Are you saying I'm a witch because I'm bald, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not offended by this. I'm not offended by the fact that James Bond wore a toupee. Okay, I mean,
what?
Oh, come on! You didn't know that?
I didn't
Sean
know
Connery
this. Don't tell me. When did he do this?
Sean Connery was wearing a toupee almost through the whole time he was playing James Bond.
No.
Yeah, he started going bald when he was like 22. There's pictures of him on, behind the scenes without his toupee.
Oh, no, don't say this.
Yeah, and so this
I don't believe you.
The fans, started picking on it. What was the last one he did? Never Say Never Again?
Yes.
They refer to it as the James Bond with the toupee. But the only reason they do that is because it wasn't part of the public consciousness that he was always wearing a toupee. What happened was after he quit playing James Bond, he did some roles where he stopped wearing his toupee. This was how he looked, and then they brought him back for James Bond and they put the toupee back on him and everyone goes, oh, he's wearing a toupee because we saw him in the last movie and he didn't have a toupee. And it's like, people are like, no, he was always wearing a toupee.
This is shattering me. Okay, right now. Okay,
dude,
I didn't know this. Okay,
this is not a big deal. This is not a problem. This is what actors do. I mean, he's playing a role of a guy who wasn't bald.
Don't even bring up that nasty rumor about William Shatner. Okay.
Oh yeah, he was another one too.
Shatner is the man. Well, you know what though?
There's nothing wrong
with men who have no hair. My father had no hair. Okay, I know. I'll probably get there at some point.
Although with Shatner, I don't understand why every single appearance he does, he's got to be wearing his toupee. If it was just when he was playing, Captain Kirk, I'd say, well, it's because of his role. But he can't ever be seen without his toupee.
Well, don't bring it up to him. He'll tear your head off. Not that you ever would. Not that we never.
God, I have no interest in talking to the man. But
oh man, but no. Well, I'm sorry, Shatner. I find funny. He did that. Did you see this thing where he did about? It was about remodeling his house.
No.
Did you ever see that when he did? It was like one of those do-it-yourself networks, and we're redoing Shatner's house, and it was funny. And they went into like his living room, and they were like, "This is like a gentleman's parlor room from the '70s." They were like saying, "What is this?" It's like all the fashion, like maybe like shag carpet, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but what I did see was he did this thing with a couple other celebrities where they went traveling or something like that. I don't even remember what it was called, but William Shatner goes on vacation or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was this weird reality thing, and you could tell it was staged, but it was really funny. I actually don't even remember what it was.
Yeah, anyway. But I'm wondering if this is a British thing though, because it's like it's in a note on Twitter. British Paralympic swimmer Amy Martin explained why it's not unusual for surgeons to try and build hands like this for children and adults with certain limb differences, and it's upsetting to see something that makes what person.
Yeah, that's the other thing about these
articles.
It's like, do people not edit these things?
They don't.
What the heck?
They don't. Yeah, person different being represented as something scary. Okay, look, it's not. It's not
Again, this is not
targeting.
someone who lost their fingers and became a witch. This
Yes,
is, that's like people being offended by vampires because they got weird teeth or something. I don't know.
and then Anne Hathaway threw her 2 cents in and apologized.
Oh
And
god.
this is bad press.
This is people just need to shut up. Just it's like the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. Okay, just don't say anything and you won't make it worse. Oh gosh.
Okay, but
Yeah.
did,
Good. We don't have to deal with that anymore. I can take that off my
okay.
list.
Are there any other ones you want to deal with from next week? Let's see. I think we maybe want to save the Hollywood Apocalypse update. I don't know. Maybe some of these can wait.
Actually, I feel like most of what we talked about was still kind of the Hollywood apocalypse.
It's
depressing.
Like, is Casey Scott Levy? Is he still here? He probably got depressed and left. Okay, because all these stories we're doing.
Right? I know. I know. It's sad.
Do we want to do DC or we want to save that because we're probably gonna do more comics?
We'll save that because there's also Blade and
this is what I want to do. We'll do one more if you have time. You want to do one more?
Sure.
How about the live action to animation?
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Let's do this one. CBS All Access. They're taking one of their live action comedy series,
right?
And which is the link is no longer working. That's great. The second
is that right?
It's not you. It's not you. It's I go to the link and it gets rid of the article. And I know I had a suspicion with the one about the GamerGate movie from GameSpot because that was a gaming site. I suspected that Zoe Quinn called us and said, "You take that article down." Okay, and that's why we put up the Variety one instead. Because I'm not joking. I think that's what probably happened. They probably took it down because they didn't want to promote this evil movie that evil BuzzFeed is making. If you don't, anyway.
Wow. I may end up having to do screenshots or something of these articles.
You know what I can start doing too? I can start saving PDFs too. Maybe just post them.
Jeez.
But anyway, basically the art stall.
Okay, wait a minute. I got another link for it. And it's still Cartoon Brew, so
right.
They must have just moved the article.
Cartoon Brew.
So I'll drop it. There you go. So CBS All Access's No Activity switches from live action to animation for its 4th season. Now, do you know this show, Boomer? This No Activity?
No, I haven't watched any. The only CBS All Access shows I watched were the Star Treks.
Yeah,
I guess they were hate watches at some point. They didn't start out as hate watches. I was trying to give Discovery a chance, and it was flawed the first season and completely fell apart the second season. But I never went into these series wanting to hate. This is the thing. I'm not a hater. I don't go into things wanting to hate them. Okay,
I know.
And I don't know if this show may be good. Maybe not.
And actually, that's something worth pointing out in general, Boomer, if you don't mind me taking a second here. All of this stuff that we talk about where we sound like we're really negative, and I think everyone in our community understands this. We want to love these things. We want to love Star Trek and Star Wars and the comics and all the things that we love. We can't because it's like people that are behind them are actively trying to destroy them. That's what we're upset about.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my little rant.
And it's also just bad entertainment in general. I don't even mind people reimagining something. Just make something that's good, and it's not half the time. It's
and like Big Al will point out, and I support him on this. I agree with him. The reboot or reimagining or whatever you want to call it of Battlestar Galactica. Most fans look at that and go, "Well, there's a great example of something that was really, really good." And it, doesn't, it was inspired by and honors the original source material, but it's clearly something different and reimagined, and they did it well. If everyone would do that, that would be great. But unfortunately, they do it in such a way as to crap all over it. You end up getting Star Trek Discovery or something like that.
Yeah.
But so this No Activity, it doesn't really matter because I looked at this and my first thought was it doesn't matter to me because I don't even know what this show is. But it does seem to be an example of something that I have said I would not be surprised if this doesn't set a trend that in this modern CV, social distancing, can't bring people together, starting to focus more and more on animation. If you can take your actors and it's not hurt by changing mediums, just say, you know what, we're just going to have you record your lines from your home studio, and we'll have people on computers create the animation, and we'll do the shows that way.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting to me. I don't know how I feel about it because I don't know.
Well, I again, not having seen this particular show, I just think about all the sitcoms out there that if they became cartoons, I would have absolutely no problem with it. Because how would taking something, well, like I think of to compare apples and apples the best I could, go back to the 80s and 90s, Roseanne. Can you imagine if about 2-3 seasons into Roseanne, they decided to make it a cartoon? It would be Family Guy.
Yeah.
And perfect, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, if it's maybe that's the thing. Sitcoms maybe transfer better into.
And I got the impression this no activity thing
is a sitcom. I think it's a sitcom about cops. I think
I guess. What I got
the impression from. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's good or bad. But it's interesting that they're doing this, and I wonder if they're going to keep doing this with other things. And it said, look, several live-action series incorporated animation as a means to complete an episode of special, including ABC's Blackish, Pop TV's One Day at a Time, and NBC's The Blacklist. So that's interesting. The Blacklist. Isn't that show with James Spader?
Yeah, I think so.
They're including animation in that to complete an episode? Oh, that's interesting.
But they're talking historically, because like One Day at a Time, that's not something current, is it?
Okay. I don't know.
And well, but I'll even say something else. I mean,
no, that's on now. That's apparently on now. Yeah, that they're referring to something present.
There's a show right now, One Day at a Time.
I guess it's called Pop TVs. Do we know what that is? Pop TV.
I have no idea. Now I'm gonna do a little googly thing here and take a look. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it is. It's a Netflix show.
Okay.
One Day at a Wow, I have. And it doesn't look anything like. It's about a Cuban American family.
Hey, we could get an animated Stranger Things series to keep the kids forever 12, right?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Anyway, but
yeah, I actually don't see this as a problem. And this has also been a solution for example, the Doctor Who restoration team. Go back to the first, second, well, mostly the first and second Doctors. All of the audio exists for those series, but in some cases, whole reels, whole episodes, whole seasons don't exist. So there's been a push to recreate those episodes that are missing using animation. And some of those have been really, really good.
Because they have the soundtracks, but not the physical media. And they say it's a real tragedy about especially the Patrick Troughton era. They say there were a lot of great episodes written then, but they've all been destroyed. Probably
one of the worst is from the Hartnell era this was back when Doctor Who was imagined as a means of teaching history. And they did this segment with Marco Polo.
Yeah.
And almost all of those were lost. Mm-hmm. And there have been several different variations trying to reconstruct that. But yeah, we live in an age where animation is easily done in many different styles. So I've seen some of the animation they've done, and it's been really good. So I don't really see this as an issue.
No. Back to the drawing board does make a point, though. Sometimes it depends on the kind of humor a sitcom does. Like Jaleel White brought so much physical comedy to Steve Urkel. I'm not sure he'd animate well. Not on the budget of a weekly show.
Yeah, you make a good point.
You know,
And I am certainly not one that feels that this is, oh, you know what? Let's just do away with all
it's a
physical
permanent
activity.
solution, but maybe as a temporary solution, this
Yeah,
might be the best way to go.
I certainly see this as being an option in most of these cases because let's face it, that example is the exception. We don't have a lot of physical comedians anymore. The other one is I think of Jonathan Ritter in
Yes, I
Three's
was about to
Company.
say him. Yeah, great
There is
physical
this
comedian.
whole segment he did when they were like out camping or something, and he's trying to sit down in a what's it called, a hammock, and he gets into it and it flips over and he tries to get in again. He tries to sneak up on it. And I think it was an homage to somebody else. Was it to Charlie Chaplin or something?
Probably.
I
Or
don't
Lauren
remember.
Hardy, maybe. Laurel Hardy, maybe. I'm
Could
trying
have
to
been,
think of that.
but
Yeah.
whatever. It was just he did such a great job. And then he finally gets into it. And then you know how if you've ever been in a hammock, it is wobbly like that. But if you get your butt into it and you get your center of gravity low enough, you're good. And he's like, and he goes and he starts to sleep. And then Chrissy shows up and he flips and he, falls out of it again.
Of course. Oh, that's funny.
It's just amazing. Yeah, no, that would never translate to animation. It was, I mean, I guess you could do it, but not the way he did it.
You're explaining to me why am I not watching reruns of Three's Company right now? Well, nothing.
I know, right? It's like, I honestly don't care. This show that we're talking about, I don't even care about. And even as we mentioned, One Day at a Time, I want to watch, the old original One Day at a Time.
I loved the Ropers, but I also loved what's his name? Don Knotts when he was on there too. Both were great.
Mr. Furley, yeah.
Furley. They were both great
on
that show.
That was a great example of if you're going to lose somebody, don't try to recreate them. Do something completely
different. And that way you have something else to look forward to rather than it's like you're wishing for the other thing.
And let's face it, Don Knotts was just a gem. He was great.
I love Don Knotts. But I was thinking though, you're talking about physical. They used to have a Jackie Chan cartoon series. Remember that?
I do remember that.
And I didn't mind the show. It was fine, but I was thinking it's almost like the when the guy that the ventriloquist, what I'm talking about from the old days. He had a radio. No, the Charlie McCartney, I think.
Charlie McCarthy. Yeah.
And he had they on the old days of radio. They did a radio show, and some person said, "What's the point of listening to a ventriloquist on the radio?" Because you lose the whole thing. And I'm like, well, but and that's what I was sort of thinking with the Jackie Chan cartoon, because it's like the whole thing is you see Jackie Chan, talking about a physical performer. Okay.
Well, yeah,
but
I would argue
enjoyed it. Yeah.
But you also have to understand what the radio was like back then.
Oh yeah.
Okay. It was theater of the mind. There was no picture for anybody. So when you saw Superman, you couldn't see Superman fly, but you could hear him say up, up, and away. And then they'd have the sound effect of him, through the sky. And then the zoop as he would land, I mean, you didn't see it, but in your mind's eye, you could still see it. And when you hear a ventriloquist, just if you were to watch, what's his name that I just said, Jeff Dunham. Okay. Just put on a Jeff Dunham special and close your eyes. You hear him talking back and forth. You get the jokes. You don't really need to see what's happening. It's not really just about the actor, throwing his voice and speaking without his lips moving. Maybe a couple of sketches play off of that. But by and large, it's just him as a one-man show playing different roles. That works on radio.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when you hear it, it's because some of them can be, rapid fire and he's changing his voice back and forth, arguing with himself and stuff. That's pretty good, whether you have a dummy or not.
That's true. So I guess there is that going for it. And it's,
I think the whole idea of the radio drama and the radio comedy and whatnot, that's kind of lost. We're so visual now. We're so spoiled. It's fun to go back and just listen to a radio and an audio drama.
This is actually something where I know sometimes I pick on the British sometimes, but they still do British they do radio dramas over there, and they've been doing them
Yep.
for ages.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and
that's what kept Doctor Who alive during the times when it was on hiatus. It was all audio dramas.
I would love to listen to those, because didn't they do a lot with Paul McGann?
Paul McGann, because of those audio dramas, has more Doctor Who stories than any of the other doctors.
I want to listen to those, because I always felt he got cheated, and I would
not
have liked
only
to see
that, but his during his time at, no pun intended, as Doctor Who in those audio dramas, he has a whole sequence that was about the Time War. This was before the new series started, where they started talking about a time war.
They had the Time War on the Paul McGann series.
Let's say they had a time war.
Okay, so it was like
it may not have been the same time war, because they hadn't conceptualized it.
It introduced the concept of time wars.
Exactly.
Universe.
That's exactly right. And a lot of fans have kind of, put the two together in their minds, in their own head canon. But then when they introduced Paul McGann, in, what was it, Day of the Doctor, Night of the Doctor, whatever that series was, that brief period when he
the Fox television pilot.
No, that was his first appearance.
Oh no, you're talking about the second one. Oh, I know the one you're talking about, the one before the Day of the Doctor special.
Yeah, the last appearance when he becomes John Hurt.
I was screaming because I was like, why can't we do some specials with Paul McGann now as the Doctor?
They totally could. There's no reason.
He could still do the part. I'm sorry,
but this is why they won't go back and do that. They say there's audio out there. That's what we're doing with them, and that's just
all right. Well, whatever.
But it is worth checking out. You can find them online. You can download them. You can whatever. They're
I should
definitely
hunt for them. It'd be cool if they were just officially streaming somewhere. But I'll see if I can hunt for them. But because I keep thinking, now's the time to go look for old radio dramas. I do go to relicradio.com, where they have all these old radio shows.
Mm-hmm.
And I often make a joke that if I ever need to get to sleep, I just listen to one of the horror radio shows. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
because sometimes they can be a little drier than. Of course, some of them are pretty good, but I actually, if you have the TuneIn app on a device, you can get it on there too. They have Relic Radio. You can listen to radio shows live.
I don't know what that is, but I'll look into it.
TuneIn, yeah, I think they had it on PlayStation, and on my Roku player has it, but wait a minute.
Yeah, but. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I like Wolfden. I think y'all should wrap it up before you lose us nerding on things we may not know about it. Well, we're teaching you about radio drama.
Yeah, learn a little something here. I like the fact that I'm talking about the radio drama up and away, and he's going, yeah, he said that on Super Friends. Well, that's where that comes from. He did that in the George Reeves series. But it all goes back to the audio dramas and
the radio show. My father. Because one thing my father and I, we had kind of the father-son, thing over was the Superman, because I was a big fan of Superman the animated series, but he grew up watching Superman listening to Superman the radio show.
Sure.
And he'd be out there playing ball with his friends, and he'd say, "I have to go home." And it says, "Why? Superman's on."
Right.
And you're thinking like what, late 40s, early 50s, when because he was Silent Generation, and he would tell me those stories about how he would listen to Superman. And interesting fact, do you know what Superman radio show introduced the Superman mythos? You know what important thing it introduced? Let's see.
Yeah,
if you know
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite.
And do you know why they did?
No.
Well, it was because, oh man, I'm drawing a blank on who the actor was who was playing Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting his name, but he got sick, and he couldn't play the role. So they had to come up with a way to marginalize him, and they had someone else that would, stand in for him and, to get him through the episode until he could come back. That was the idea. Well, there's got to be something that weakens him so that, he can't talk or something. And that's where Kryptonite came from.
Oh.
Yep.
And did they say it was a piece of Krypton?
Gosh, I do think that origin was there, but I don't think they called it kryptonite at that time. I think they called it. I don't remember what they called it. I'd have to look it up. I mean, I've looked into this before, and it's just been so long; it's kind of gone out of my head. But yeah,
I stuck a chip in my mouth. I apologize.
oh, that's fine.
It's my
See.
show. I
Jimmy
know.
Olsen was introduced in the radio drama, I believe.
Oh,
I
that's
can't speak to that. That may very well be true. And I'm trying to think. I know that some of the actors that did the voice wasn't Noel Neal one of the voice actors, and then she didn't take on the role. Phyllis Coates took over the role when they went to live action, but then the following season they brought her back in. So maybe not. I maybe it was the movie. Maybe it was Superman versus the Mole People.
I need to watch that. I think that I don't know if I have that though. I know it was included in one of the Superman sets. That I don't think I have, but they included that. They also included the Super Pets, but the less said about that, the better.
Super Pets.
We'll do a rewatch of that someday.
The Super Pets was just them desperately trying to keep the
I have a joke
franchise alive.
Okay, yeah. Well, let me just explain what Super Pets was. Super Pets was. They had all the characters, but they were played by little people wearing dog heads, right?
Yeah.
And it was like Clark Kent, maybe it was like Clark Wolf. I don't know. They were all like dog names, and I kept seeing some cigar chomping executive behind a desk saying, "Well, let's make all the characters animals. Kids are stupid."
Exactly. Well, and the reason for that was because this was after George Reeve passed, and they were like, "How do we continue the show without Superman?" And there was talk about doing a show based on Jimmy Olsen, and they're like, "Well, how are you going to do a Jimmy Olsen show that doesn't have anything to do with Superman in it?" It wasn't making a whole lot of sense. So they said, "Well, let's just do something for the kids, and we'll have anthropomorphic dogs playing all the roles." And yeah, that didn't go over very well.
No. Oh, let me see. The character's first interest is Jimmy Olsen in the radio show Adventure Superman, April 15th, 1940. You know what's interesting? I got this for Christmas one year. I got the Superman radio show where they meet Batman and Robin.
Wow.
Like the world's finest. They did it on the radio, so I should give that a listen to.
There is a lot of examples where some trope, some bit of lore didn't necessarily start in the original comics. Batgirl, for example, she first was introduced in Batman 66 and then made her debut in the comics.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
There's a lot of stuff like that. Even, and there's a lot of stuff with Superman. I mean, even a lot of stuff that was introduced to the lore from the Superman, Christopher Reeve, because it's so iconic, has made its way into the comics. The whole idea of the crystals and so forth, the crystalline Fortress of Solitude. They've even touched on Lois struggling with nicotine addiction and loving orange juice and all that. All of that stuff comes from the movie, sometimes just because of a throwaway line.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. And people expand on it later because they figure this can be expanded on.
And Lois Lane having problems not being a very good speller. That also came from Margot Kidder's Lois Lane. There was no indication of that prior to that. Agent Boomer, have you listened to the Thrilling Adventure Hour?
It was a fun throwback to audio dramas. It even had Superman and Batman analogs. No, I haven't. I'll have to see if that's available somewhere.
I don't know what that is even, but it sounds interesting. Astro from the Jetsons was in Samurai Jack season 5. Really?
I need to rewatch that. I've seen episodes from that season. I don't know if I've watched it all the way through. I loved Samurai Jack. That actually had a good series finale when they did it. They finally brought it. I don't know if you ever watched that cartoon.
No, I haven't.
It was a very good. It was from the Hanna-Barbera line of cartoons, but it was more recent, made in the 2000s. It was. Do you know? Remember the old Clone Wars cartoons, the ones that were done before the CG ones? It was made by the guy that did those.
Oh,
his big thing was Samurai Jack. Before
same animation style.
Same animation style,
Mhm.
yeah. And it was about a samurai from ancient Japan, and Aku the demon comes out and takes over the country. So the father ships him away, and he gets training all around the world of the best fighters from Greece, England, Egypt. Like he's going all around the world, becoming the best warrior he can be. And he comes back to fight the demon, and the demon tricks him and sends him like 10,000 years or 20, I don't know how many years into the future.
Okay.
And when he arrives in the future, the demon has completely taken over the world. He's also reached out and started taking over other planets in the universe. And basically, it's an uphill battle. And the whole thing is he's trying to figure out a way to get to the past and do the death blow before any of this horrible stuff happens,
Wow.
And it's neat because it does science fiction, it does fantasy, it does the whole gamut. It's a very good cartoon. I would recommend it. It's probably my favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon. Yeah.
Well, we're entering a new era where the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, they want to start turning that into a blended universe like Marvel. So who knows what we'll be seeing.
I know that Professor Geek had sung the praises of didn't they do a Hanna-Barbera comic book a little while back that he was saying good things about? I remember that.
Yeah, I think so. Not my thing, so I don't really know. All I know is that they've had some pretty false starts with Scoob and all of that kind of stuff.
People were angry that they replaced the actor for Shaggy. Matthew Lillard had been playing him for a while because he was the one that did him in the live action movies. And then they just got rid of him, and he says, I didn't even know about it.
Yeah.
Nobody called me that they were doing a CG movie, and suddenly he finds out. I'm not sure why they did that, money, or they just, I don't know.
Melissa Harris mentions Chloe Sullivan from Smallville showing up in the comics. Yeah, I had heard about that. I had kind of stopped reading the comics by that point, but I had heard they were introducing Chloe Sullivan into the comics. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Cool. And I like Wolf 10. There was a preamble for the show. Like all great television shows, Samurai Jack has a theme song, too. Okay. But yeah, I think the last cartoon I saw that I really loved was Tron Uprising. I don't know. Maybe I'm just becoming a boomer. Yeah. But
how do you feel about the announcements about the new Tron movie they're working on?
They're making a new Tron movie. They keep saying they're making a new Tron movie.
With
the Jared Leto one.
Yeah.
I have nothing against Jared Leto per se. I think if it's a good movie, it'll be a good movie.
I have nothing against Jared Leto because he was in the last one, right?
No, but they could always have him playing.
Who's the villainish? Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Blade
Runner.
Blade Runner 2000.
Yeah, no, I liked him in the Blade Runner movie. Yeah. I really liked the sequel. Some people argue, but yeah. Should we talk about? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say my biggest problem is it sounds like they're talking about it not being a direct sequel to the previous, and I'm like, but that's the story I care about. I want to know what happened to, what's her name? I can't even remember her name now.
For the actress from what? Blade Runner?
Olivia Wilde's character.
Olivia Wilde from Tron. Yeah, from Tron. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know what happened to her,
She said that she had gotten a screenplay and they were going to be doing a lot with her in the third movie. I think she was probably going to be the main character. They always talk about women representation. You had one there, right there.
And now they want to do something different. So I'm like, I don't know what.
Why don't they better not do a reboot, and they better do a proper third movie, and they better have Cora in it. That was her character's name. And
well, that's just it. They did say they're planning to do. It's going to be a sequel, but it's not going to be a direct story sequel, and it's not going to involve those characters. And I'm like, then why even bother? This is a character-driven thing. We've invested in those characters. We're not going to care about just the world without the characters,
Yes. Dude from 28 Days Later was in Tron Legacy. Cillian Murphy. The one guy made an argument. We don't cast Cillian Murphy in a small part, not to be using him in a big role later on. Okay.
Right.
He was the son of Dillinger, the bad guy from the first movie, the one who was played by David Warner. Okay.
Right.
And, he was working for the company. And there is even a thing at the end. I think there was an Easter egg. I don't know if it was at the end of the like a post credit thing at Tron Legacy, if it was on the Blu-ray, where I think you see him signing in and talking to the Master Control program from the original Tron movie. And we're never going to figure. I figured he with Master Control was going to be the villain again in the third movie, but of course I don't know what they're going to be doing now. I hope it's good, but it's Disney, so anything's possible. And yeah, Cora, that was her name. I don't know if that's what I said a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, Melissa. I will. I tell you, I will watch Animaniacs when it comes on, just to know how bad it is. Okay, we've seen the trailer. Did we mention anything about? We think we talked about the trailer last week a bit, so I can't really tell. You mentioned how Dot mentioned that line about the patriarchy. But we'll have some interesting stories next week, unless it's a slow news week. But if not,
I don't know, because I still have a lot of notes of things that we didn't cover this week, and there's a bunch of things that I didn't even put on the list.
There you go. Like we could talk about Shrinky Dinks though.
What about Shrinky?
No, I was saying, Wolfton says you're talking about stuff made before I was born. I was thinking, what was made before Wolfton was born? I was thinking maybe Shrinky Dinks.
Shrinky Dinks. I remember Shrinky Dinks. I love Shrinky Dinks. Yeah. I had a bunch of it was all DC Comics characters, and the thing about Shrinky Dinks is, of course, you'd color them in. Well, that was great when you were doing Superman and Wonder Woman and whatnot. When you did Batman, it became a little challenging because he had that gray suit, and there is no gray marker.
You could make him the Rainbow Batman from that one comic book.
Well, and you usually look to the box art, and the box art, for whatever reason, decided to make it an orange jumpsuit. I'm like, this looks ridiculous.
Yeah. That's his special scuba gear when he's going to visit Aquaman.
I guess.
Oh, Leia Plus Size says Disney was going to make a follow-up at Tron Legacy, but decided to put their money in the new Star Wars movie, True Story. I bet that's what happened. I bet buying Marvel, buying Star Wars, put the stuff they owned on the back burner.
Oh my God! What a mess! You see, and I can see the logic there. Oh, Star Wars, we're gonna get that, and we're gonna make tons of money. Here's $5 billion. Let's buy this thing. Everything else will hold. When the money starts coming in from Star Wars, then we could do Tron. Well, when does the money start coming in from Star Wars? Well, wait. The first movie's just set up. The second movie. Okay, maybe not. Well, we got Solo Star. We lost money on Star Wars.
Well, don't forget, however you feel about Rogue One, I'm not a huge fan of Rogue One, but that movie did do well, and people do like that movie.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, and
it wasn't enough to save them after they lost money on Solo.
No.
And they certainly didn't make as much money as they were expecting to on the final film in the Skywalker saga. Yeah, no, that didn't do as well as they expected it to.
You get to have Luke Skywalker as a Force Ghost. I heard the reason why you didn't see the Force Ghost at the end of that movie. Did you see Rise of Skywalker? I keep asking you this over and over again. I think you say no.
I've heard a lot about it. I haven't actually seen
You probably feel like you've seen it at this point, but
I know the whole story based on everything that I've heard about it.
But there were no Force Ghosts at the end. They just talked to Rey like with words, right? It's like speech.
Yeah,
and I had the feeling that was because of China. I think they were going to have a scene with all the actors coming out and talking to her in person, and I think that they were afraid of China because China has a no ghost policy in movies, right?
Right.
And I think that one scene with Luke as a Force Ghost, you can just cut that out because it's just one little scene in that movie. You can just cut that out of the version going to China.
Well, again, I come back to what's the point of making this movie for China then? China has never been real big on Star Wars to begin with. And Force Ghosts are a part of the story. Obi-Wan is in, Empire Strikes Back and Jedi,
They are trying to please everybody, and what happens when you try and please everybody?
You end up pleasing nobody, and that's what I keep saying.
And I'm going to say Star Wars in its original form. Talk about a series that in many respects was pleasing everybody when it was first out. Remember?
Yeah.
And I guess they figured all the fanboys needed was to see lightsabers and fancy ships flying, and that was enough for us.
Yeah, but it absolutely wasn't, and that's And that's the other thing too. We've had so many movies that have, copied those elements.
Yeah.
Battles. We've gotten that in a bunch of knockoffs. That's not enough. It's just not.
Wolf 10 Media says he's going to get Tron Legacy on Blu-ray on his next shopping spree. Yeah, I would keep an eye on Disney Blu-rays. If you want Disney Blu-rays, this is the time to buy, and especially DVDs, because one thing I've noticed about them is that a lot of them are heavily discounted. I don't think they're selling, and it's not so much the major movies, but it's like the more offbeat movies they've released, like Great Mouse Detective or stuff like that. And I think Tron Legacy, I wouldn't surprise me if you could see that for $10 somewhere.
And once again, I would encourage you to get, if you can, first editions. If you can find, even if they're used on eBay or whatever, because Disney has a tendency of special editioning them, just like Star Wars,
or at least do some research first. And see.
I was talking last week about how they edited Lilo and Stitch, so later editions are different than the release version.
I have to now check my DVD to see if I have the censored version. I think I meant to do that. And but this is where we are. But did we have a nice stream tonight, guys? Was it good news?
At least we brought you some good news, And
I
mean, it's not all doom and gloom. Yeah, now you need to batten down your hatches.
You get to watch the Rudolph special on TV this year.
That's right.
There you go, and that's something. Okay, so we're gonna have you're gonna have your Trek Tuesdays this week, right?
Yep. So let's go ahead and go through our list. But you know what? Let's first give it up for Sound Engraver on Monday, our Monday Night Muse. She starts out our week with I think on a positive, encouraging note. And I mean that, I meant the pun there, on a positive note.
I think I mentioned something about you should check out, to one of my friends said, you should check out Cobra Kai. You'll get a kick out of it. And I was like, oh, no. I did a pun by accident, because Cobra Kai and kicking Karate Kid, never mind. Okay. All right. Because I've been watching that. I mean, I keep watching that show. So getting caught up on that.
And then on Tuesday over on the, what do you call it? The Catholic Bible Geek channel, starting a book study of The Magician's Nephew, chapters 1 through 5. That is the help me out. What's the author's name?
C.S. Lewis?
C.S. Lewis. Okay. Thank you. This is like the 6th book in that series, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but chronologically, The Magician's Nephew takes place first, so that's where he's starting. And what was and then, if I'm not mistaken, we also have Mr. Matchstick doing
I believe
Tuesday night rewatch.
He's going to do a Konosuba rewatch. I'm assuming at the same time he usually does at 11 o'clock. No, I thought it was Monday he said he was doing it.
Well, maybe it was Monday. I don't know. I've completely lost track because he wasn't tonight. So.
Yeah, but Wolf 10 did make a comment here. He's doing his he's going to do his Tuesdays and Thursday afternoon. They'll be doing stuff too if you want to check his channel out too.
Okay. So I gave you a list to a link to tomorrow's, but I'll give you a link to Mr. Matchstick's channel overall.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and you're going to have Trek Tuesdays Tuesday night.
And then Trek Tuesdays over on Cartan's The Klingon Cleric. That's going to be at least semi-regular. If people like it and want to talk Trek,
there's a lot to talk about with Trek, though.
There certainly
I'd like to hear convention stories. You probably have some funny ones to talk about, maybe.
Yeah, I do actually.
But what did I want to mention though? Did you notice that when I was, like everybody was, when they do first and second, all this, I had to find the, I don't know what I typed in my number, but I had to find the Klingon word for it. That's what I did. Oh, and there's a Klingon English translator online. Did you know that? or English
Yes.
Klingon? Okay.
Yes, there is. I don't recommend using it
Oh, I
because
see.
it translates words literally, and
I see.
honestly, that's not how you want to go. Let me drop a link for you guys. If you guys are at all interested in translating Klingon words, this is uh, a link to uh, it's whole, which is language from CAG, the Klingon assault group.org. That is you can get a translation for every word that actually exists in Klingon right now.
Cool.
There's contributors there from the Klingon Language Institute that keep that completely up to date, and there's that landing page has links to learn about the grammar and so forth. But yeah, it if you just drop a piece of text into one of those translators, you're going to get back word soup because there's no grammar, and it may not even get you the word that you want. What's better is to take a word, drop it in here, and you can see the different words and go, no, that's not the word I'm looking for. It's whatever. So like if you typed in the word first, you would get wadich, which
That's
is
what
which is what you probably meant. But you would also find you, which is first tone in a non-atonic musical scale. And you would get Rubdak, which is firstborn child. And it goes down. First officer, Yash Wadich. Yeah, see. So
cool.
If you were to drop first into like the Bing translator, who knows which one of these it would grab hold of, I just So yeah, I'm sorry. You get me talking Klingon and I'll go off on a tangent. And
I found it interesting.
But so Wednesday, the usual Wednesday night thing is, of course, Daniel Herron, soundtracks with Birdman at 8:30 Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And
it will be Disney's The Black Cauldron. And if you Disney Plus subscribers, or maybe you actually have the movie, you can follow along. We're going to be talking about the soundtrack to that, which I believe was done by, why is his name escaping me now?
That's a heck of a name.
That's not, yes. Elmer Bernstein did the score to that movie. Yes. And,
and I actually have that on DVD, but it is my D&D night. So unless my D&D game is canceled.
Well, that's okay, because you can just follow along the next day.
That's right. I'll catch it on the read.
While you're doing garden work or something. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of garden work in autumn, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we're getting a hurricane in autumn, so okay. Anyway,
then of course Green Lion Girl at 9 Eastern, or usually 9 Eastern. I think she's continuing the Hitman.
I'm always kind of envious because I can never go over to Green Lion's Girl stream while I'm doing this with Daniel, but
you can't do both. Yeah,
you can't do both. So
you have to catch her
on the
rewatch.
You can always catch our things on the rewatch too if you can't take part. I was thinking I could do a joke and do a Choose Your Own Adventure rewatch. Remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books?
Yes, I do.
Old school. Okay, yes, should I go to page 19 or 25? In fact,
you'd oftentimes like, well, I'm going to hold my page here. I'm going to go check this one and see if I like that. If not, I'll back up.
You don't do that. No, you used to do that. No, you read the book the way it's supposed to be read. You don't peek and see a bad ending and then not go to that page. Then you start over and you read again. Okay.
Oh no, you don't want to do that, because if you get to that page and go, "You have died," well, now I've got to read the whole thing all over again just to get to the same spot.
One was just and you see like the falling down the page and like you're dead or something.
There was a series called the Fighting Fantasy Adventure Games.
I remember those. Yeah,
basically a twist. It was like a twist to plot, choose your own adventure, except it had combat rules. So sometimes you'd encounter a monster and you'd have to roll dice, and if you defeated the creature, you turn to this page. If you don't, turn to this page. And I remember my first experience with that. I was on a bus. We were going. I was in grade school, and we were going on a field trip. And my two buddies, Ronnie and David, who were sitting in front of me, were playing this thing, and they're reading through. And he goes, "Da, da, da, da. So if you have the rope, turn to this page, and if you don't have the rope, turn to this page." And he says, "Do we have a rope?" And he goes, "I don't know. We do now." And they turn to the.
Oh, that's funny.
And they were basically cheating. And I'm like, I think it would be so funny if they got to that page and they're like, "You're cheating. There is no rope in this book. You die."
That'd be funny. That would be funny. Oh man, I do remember those books. I don't know if I had any. I think maybe a friend of mine did though. They do ring a bell.
Steve Jackson and Ian Livingston were the ones.
Yes, I remember Steve Jackson.
And then he started Steve Jackson Games. Yeah.
Did Steve Jackson do GURPS?
I think he was somehow involved in that. Yeah.
Okay. I remember they did GURPS Lensman, and I'm a big Lensman fan. That's a big science fiction series from the 40s. Or the 30s. It was a like pre-Asimov. It was the big space opera before like Asimov and Heinlein started coming along. But it's yeah, that's another story for another time. I'll tell you about. I've talked about Lensman before. But,
okay. And then Thursday, of course, on the Catholic Geek channel, Catholic Bible Geek, we have. Oh, wait a minute, that's wrong. I don't want to drop two links together at the same time. I think that'll be confusing.
Hey, thank you for the compliments, Brian Gilmore and Honor Dread. Good stream, guys. Thank you.
Professor. Well, it is the professor, but the Catholic Bible Geek continues his study of the Book of John, and I think on Fridays we still have the Fan Man doing something. Maybe.
I think so. Just not. I know he's changing things around, so I guess just tune into his channel to find out.
Yep. And then on Saturday we have on Big L's channel rewatch of Edward Scissorhands. You may or may not realize this, but it's kind of set around Thanksgiving. So,
I could use, and that would be a good thing to watch because of the whole Johnny Depp news too.
That's exactly what we were thinking too. Okay. Well, of course we had.
I'm sure it's been on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, we scheduled it before this came up, and we were like, "Wow, yeah, that's pretty good timing, actually."
Cool.
So, and that brings us around to study hall next week.
All right, sounds good. And we have some topics next week, but we'll save those for next week, and maybe we'll have some new ones.
Oh yeah, like I said, there's at least 2 or 3 topics that I didn't even get into the notes.
Oh, there was Doctor Who news recently too, wasn't there? Which I think again is trolling news.
We'll hold off on that because that's a big one. Yeah,
okay,
that's a rant for me. Definitely,
it's a rant for me too because I out of the big 3, I mean, I like Star Trek and Star Wars, but Doctor Who was always my number 1. And I'm talking about old school Who.
Yeah,
I was a big fan of old school Who back in when I was watching the reruns watching the stuff on PBS, and then just to see what it's become, it makes me sad. But anyway,
we'll talk
about thoughts. I'll watch Space 1999. They can't harm my Space 1999 because they didn't do anything else with it.
Well, you better have it on. You better have it on physical media so they can't take it away from you.
But it is on Amazon Prime streaming right now too.
For now,
yes, for now, until they take it away.
Exactly,
that's what they do. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I think good stream tonight. Okay.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys on Sound Engraver tomorrow, I guess. Okay.
Take it easy, everyone.
Have a good night. Let me get the bell, which I don't have set up anymore, so we're just going to end it.
Class is out. You're dismissed.
Okay.